Obviously, we don't want all it's perpetual.
Yeah. Yeah. Been a minute in. I can kill it.
You're yelling a lot. Yeah, okay.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. It's loud in my head.
I don't know why we don't have it. It has it on mine. That's okay. It'll send it all back. But audio's good on YouTube.
Great.
So we're live.
We're
right?
live.
We're on? Are we on? Good. Awesome.
We are
Beautiful.
on.
So, hey everybody. Leaving Spiders welcome, guys. That's corny as hell sounding, but I mean it. We got Jim, and tonight we are welcoming Tea Krulos.
Hey.
Author of the rad new book out now on Feral House, American Madness. What's the subtitle again? You want to read it for us? Or let us, no, top of your head.
The subtitle is The Story of the Phantom Patriot and How Conspiracy Theories Hijacked American Consciousness.
That is a heavy ass subtitle. But the craziest thing I'll really quickly touch on is how the hell did we live blocks from each other and not know? We have mutual friends, many of them.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Both Milwaukee neighbors, literally, and didn't know it for I don't know how many years. Probably like almost 10 years, at least, because Bayview and then River West and Bayview. So it's pretty crazy how we never paths crossed but didn't cross. There's 0 degrees, I'd say, before this, but
we run the same circles, yeah.
Definitely. But joining us here tonight to talk the new book, and we only have you for a limited amount of time, but for the next, I'm sure this won't be the last time. I won't speak too soon though, because I don't want to be that dude, but I'm just saying, so how appropriate of a book that I didn't even know the contents of before, reading the subtitle, you don't get it, but then I find out it's Richard McCaslin, and many people don't know, many conspiracy theorists, analysts, whatever your proper whatever your like PC way to describe this little niche, Richard McCaslin isn't a name that's your household for this sort of thing, and his romp through the Bohemian Grove. So it's intense, fascinating. Why don't you give us a little bit of breakdown on how this kind of started for you, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Let's start with Richard.
And really that was one of the appeals for me for writing this book, was that his story was not a story that you hear all the time. In fact, there's been very little reporting on his story over the years at all. So that's really what grabbed me. Was I was like, wow, this is a really interesting story. So it started in 2010 for me. I was working on my first book, which is titled Heroes in the Night. And it's about this interesting subculture of people that actually create their own superhero personas. But they're not like cosplayers. They actually like go out in the streets, and some of them try to fight crime, or they do, like charity type events and stuff like that. So I was working on that book, and I had a blog going where I kind of kept track of my progress. And one day I get an email from this guy, and he says, hey, back in 2002, I raided the Bohemian Grove, and I was dressed in the superhero persona, the Phantom Patriot. And so you might be interested to talk to me, because I'm into this real life superhero stuff. And I was like, whoa, what is this guy? What the hell is this guy talking about? So I had not heard of the Bohemian Grove at that point. And I started researching that, and I wrote back to Richard, and I was like, hey, this is very interesting to me, and yeah, I'd like to learn about your life and how you got there and what motivated you. And through a very long process, from 2010 up until 2018, I corresponded with Richard. I met him in person a few times and got to know his life story, and researched some of the stuff that was influential to him along the way, and put together the story.
I gotta say, like, for everyone out there, this is crazy how he is not a household name. He's not a household name necessarily, but I mean, for people that run in, it's not even people that run in. It sounds goofy saying that, but people that are, fascinated by conspiracy. I mean, we all go down some weird rabbit holes at times, and many of us have many different hands down, multiple holes here, and whatever. Not even gonna go there right now because we have limited time. But the point is I don't know if this was suppressed, if this got caught in, but we can't talk 24-hour news cycle really when we talk when he got popped for doing this. So this goes back to, I believe, what is it, 2001, 2002 timing?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
if you want to give a little breakdown on what transpired and how he became, how he kind of got his.
Yeah. So an important thing that you're saying too, I think I've often wondered why his story didn't get more traction. And, I think it was a little bit suppressed because a lot of people in media do go to the Bohemian Grove. And it also just was kind of in this era before we really had viral stories like we do now.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
if you would have done this like, this last summer or something, this would have been viral in 1 second, and everyone would be reading about it. It would be all over the news, it'd be all over the internet, your Facebook feeds and stuff like that. But in 2002, there really wasn't that sort of instant sharing of information like that.
Sure.
So what happened was Richard had gone through sort of a rough time in his life, I think. He had just moved to Austin, Texas.
Super random.
Yeah, kind of a random series of events brought him to Austin.
I think that's what everybody with Austin. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I think he was just naturally drawn to it too. It's just kind of a place that draws people like that. Like Richard. So he's kind of down and out, and he's sitting on his couch with nothing to do. He tunes into Austin cable access TV, and he just happens to catch a documentary by Alex Jones titled Dark Secrets Inside the Bohemian Grove. And he was just like, his mind was ripe to be influenced by something like that. So he sees this documentary and he gets very upset about some of the implications in it. And he puts together this superhero outfit, which has this skull mask and a jumpsuit. He gets a bunch of weapons. He had a couple of guns and a ninja sword and a crossbow and a smoke bomb launcher.
Hell yeah.
Drives up. He drives up to the Bohemian Grove and he raids it. He sneaks in there at night, and he ends up having an armed standoff with California Highway Patrol. And there's a very tense moment where he could have died, but he surrendered.
Yeah, this is the crazy thing. So, all right, so he gets in, he romps through, he wants to, I mean, okay, let's go back a little bit. The implications for those that haven't seen the documentary, I'm sure many have seen at least clips of the documentary, because I don't even think I've seen, maybe I have, but I mean, it was crummy footage. What the implications are is literally that outright sacrifice, human sacrifice, not only that, child sacrifice, and that the effigy being carried for the cremation of care that we all know about is a actual child, which is insane, ludicrous. But also, it's funny how the not pre-programming, but it's a weird, since after looking into this, thinking that was 2002, and it's funny how like Q tapped into that inner, that I think anybody has, that is of sound mind, and just sound mind would deem absolutely awful. I mean, all that shit, but it's crazy how that is the impetus, and that's what really launched his fire. But Alex Jones, there's a whole mess here, but it's just wild that it being 2020, and that's now the Q nonsense, what Q-tards. I mean, whatever. There's a million different names for them, but yeah, it's just wild how that's. Do you believe that's what drove him over the edge? There's a number of things, but I'm just saying. I'm gonna actually let you go back because we have you for such a limited amount of time. So I want to let us get back into it. And
it's kind of like he was affected by that psychosis that Alex Jones talks about when you dive deep into all of these conspiracy theories, and then all of a sudden it's your reality is overturned into all these possible speculations, and
speculating on speculation, and it's comedy. I mean, for the it's a tragic comedy.
And what I think Alex Jones is really good at doing is he takes something that's real, and like the Bohemian Grove, it's a real place.
Yep. So
the world's most powerful men are members. We know that, so that's true. They do this weird ritual in front of the owl statue.
Yep. Well,
that's true. But then he always like throws in some stuff where it's like this speculation, where there's something this wild and crazy and sinister going on that
to the
isn't
untrained ear. To the untrained ear, that
yeah. Well, it's definitely it's kind of like Adolf Hitler called it the big lie, where if you want to convince a whole bunch of people of something, you tell them a huge lie, and most people aren't capable of lying. They tell little lies, but not this huge lie, so that it seems implausible that anybody would do that. And then you pepper a little bit of truth in.
Right.
So it seems plausible. And I think the opposite thing happens with conspiracies. They have, they give you, like an agent perhaps, or whoever it is, they give you like 99% true information, and then they throw in something crazy like shape-shifting reptilians, and it just taints, it taints all of it with that like weirdo, woohoo sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a weird. So anybody listening to this, later on or whatever, like, yeah, if this is like intro, like, now that there's a belt system or a class system here, but you know where I'm going. I mean, it's like, yeah, once you dive into these rabbit holes and realize, wait a minute, they got me. It's like, wait a minute, they got me. You just own it. That's cool. You fell for it. Tons of other people have fallen for it, like you. I get it. I forgive you. I forgive you, all you QAnon people. I do. I mean, I get it. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that you had faith in Orange Man and you thought he was the savior, but no, and you should have known. No, like, it's still the government, dude. They still run things. Of course. What do you think? I can't. But hey, that's besides the point. I still value civil liberties and free speech. And the only thing I will say about Alex Jones, and I'll leave it at that, is that I don't think he should have been the martyr to go down for, like, on social media, but I understand it's their right to do it. We consent to their EULA, end user licensing agreement, and that's it. Freedom of speech exists on their terms. End of story. So, you know what I mean? Like, I can't. When I looked, but I was angry. I remember being like, "Are you guys kidding me? Alex Jones is the one guy you're gonna do this to, and we're not gonna touch the Sandy Hook thing right now, or probably in this episode." But still, there's weird things afoot. So let's move on a little bit to so he essentially wants to destroy the symbolism, not symbolism, but he really wants that owl. He really wants Moloch. Like, reading through the book, it's like he's charged on this. Like,
yeah. Well, he thought a couple things. He thought he was going to go in and that perhaps he would find them doing a satanic ritual where they were sacrificing live people. So, he thought he would perhaps really be saving people's lives if he went in there.
Right. So he
Um,
truly he
it's,
believed.
yes, he very much believed that that was happening and that he would save people's lives. So I think, you know, his motivation there was he wanted to help people out that he thought were in danger because he saw this documentary.
Sure.
And if he didn't find that going on, then his next goal was to destroy. I mean, the chapter of the book is titled "Burn the Owl,"
Or no.
because that was his that was one of his major goals going into the Bohemian Grove.
He was gonna.
He thought that
He's gonna cremate the cremation of care.
right. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's brilliant. So, but I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and you know, all those years later, there's part of the book where I'm talking with him in person, and I ask him if he would do anything differently with the Bohemian Grove thing, and I was thinking, here's this chance he can say that he was wrong or something like that, but instead, what he told me was that he would instead drive a bulldozer into the Bohemian Grove,
That's right.
so he could knock over the statue and destroy it
And we're
instead
talking
of trying to burn it.
right. And we're talking what? This is like 10, 15 years after the fact. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, and you go into how, you know, this man, he served, you know, what, 6, 7 years in prison for doing.
Yeah, about 6.5. Yeah.
And he, reading on, you know, you give, you know, besides Richard's story, you tap into how this, you know, essentially hijacks American consciousness, or it, you know, has the ability to, and the Welch character that drove to Comet Ping Pong and decided to, you know, start, where's the children, where's the whatever, the same kind of thing there, but
It was uncanny how similar that story is.
Yeah.
It's so similar in so many ways, very similar to Richard's story.
It's wild. And but I mean, at least not at least Richard shows no remorse throughout this whole thing, and whereas Welch, you know, I don't know like what lawyer, but Richard's the kind of cat though that is no like honor, you know what I mean, kind of, it's like a bit humility seems to be like okay, you can check a bunch of boxes for like solid individual, all right, I can, you know what I mean, like you have to honor his
memory.
his memory, not by writing the book. This is a great way to literally honor his memory. And it suck.
What is the mental illness? Does that fall into the story? Is there like do people notice? I mean, somebody's running around in a superhero vigilante costume, like do people notice that? I would think wouldn't people be keeping an eye on him or something? Like, did he save people or like?
And how? But if you can tie this, this.
Was he like doing good deeds before all of the Bohemian Grove stuff? Like, you know, superhero stuff or?
A little bit. He actually got into that more after he got out of prison. But he had designed this Phantom Patriot persona. And the first thing he did with it was he would dress up in costume and kind of hand out these pamphlets on the street in Austin, and was hoping that his appearance in these little zines is what they were actually. They had like poems and illustrations, and he listed InfoWars website on it. He was hoping that he could kind of inspire people with these symbolic appearances, is what he called them. But then he decided after a chain of events, some personal struggles, and then 9/11, of course, he really kind of changed after that, and he was like, I need to do some sort of direct action where I have a mission. And when he saw this documentary, he was like, well, what better superhero mission? Here's a group of the satanic cabal of world leaders who are doing this spooky ritual in front of an owl. They're like the Legion of Doom, and I'm Superman, you know?
Absolutely. And plus he has a military background, and he never really had a girlfriend. That's one of the other things that, you know, he never had a solid relationship to where he could find, you know, that you just find that and we can't explain it because I'm sure love. I don't know, for lack of a better, but I'm saying like he couldn't frame things. I don't feel like in a proper manner the way your everyday
It
person can.
seems like
And
he had bigger plans. Like he wanted to change the world since he was a kid.
yeah, but he
You
wanted
know,
attention.
his escape.
There's the attention seeking thing too that we get to where it becomes not a narcissistic thing. Maybe it is, but it's hard to
A
really
little bit, maybe. Yeah.
a little bit, but it's more like he just needed. Okay, like Jim, you haven't read the book, so I feel bad.
So
But
was there abuse in his childhood? I heard something about that when I was
Mhm.
looking into it.
Yeah, he was an only child. His father had a very bad temper and was abusive towards him and his mother. But despite that, he had a really rough relationship with his father. But I think towards the end of his life, they had mended their relationship a little bit. So, he lost both of his parents. They left him a pretty good inheritance, but he didn't have a lot of friends. He didn't have a relationship. He didn't have like a very fulfilling job. So I think he was really searching for something that would fill some of this void in his life.
That's Batman's
I
story.
think- Yeah. I mean, he didn't have a lot to lose, is I guess the way I would put it.
that's brilliant. Yeah, that is. Now that I'm thinking back on this whole tale, it was a void filling thing. But I mean, ultimately, it felt like he, yeah, there's lack of. If he would have, it feels like, and I tell, you can agree with me or confirm this suspicion that I had or inkling, whereas like I'm reading through it, I'm like, this dude, if he could just literally get a job, even a part-time gig, and it doesn't matter, he would. It's not. It's like he needed that structure. He needed, like, the military burned that into him so hard. Their brainwashing solid. It's A plus plus plus. So when he got out, I mean, he lived like you visited him, but where does he end up moving to of all places? Jim, of all places, he ends up in Pahrump.
Pahrump was
Pahrump.
Oh, come on, yeah.
Was-
where Art Bell.
oh
Where he ended up, yeah, building his studio and yeah, all that. Of course.
he was a fan of Art Bell.
I think that he knew who he was, but he wasn't necessarily a big fan of his. But he was just kind of drawn to Pahrump because Pahrump, besides Art Bell, is just kind of this weird little desert town, and it attracts a lot of people who are kind of outsiders and want to be left alone by the government and each other. So he thought he was going to fit right in. But yeah, like you were saying, he couldn't find a job because number one is Pahrump. It's not like there's a ton of jobs out there. And number two, when he left prison, I mean, he was a 5-time felon for his raid on the Bohemian Grove. They gave him 5 felonies. So with a criminal record like that, of course, it made it a little bit harder to find a job too. So
100%.
Yeah.
That definitely factors into it. But I want to be able to tie this, in. So why don't we go through? So he gets popped at Bohemian Grove, right? He gets in a standoff with the cops. It's insane, and just to think that he made it out of that situation alive is beyond me. And I think if I'll actually refrain from that thought and statement. But yeah, I think when you're analyzing this and going through it in the book, you touch on the fusion mindset and how certain basically it's like a modality of belief kind of thing, or technology of belief, so to speak, kind of situation. If you want to get into that, was it Dr. Mitchell? I believe not Edgar Mitchell, Jim, but Dr. Jeff Mitchell, I think his name was, right?
Oh no, you're confusing. Jeff Mitchell was Richard's defense attorney.
That's right.
I talked to a Dr. Daniel White.
Daniel White. Okay.
Was my go-to guy for that chapter.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to touch on that because it's just an excerpt. In the case of extreme conspiracists like Richard, there's something stronger at work, something stronger at work than just the run-of-the-mill cognitive dissonance. A 2019 article for The Atlantic by James Hamblin talks about something called identity fusion. Well, this is Hamblin's article. Um, Basically, where it's, I don't know if you want to go into it, so I don't have to read from it, but
Mhm.
it's like a confirmation bias echo chamber sort of situation.
Yeah, and you kind of you see either a particular person or maybe a type of person that inspires you in some way, and you kind of fuse your identity to that person, and then it's kind of hard to shake you out of not being that person because you reject stuff that doesn't fit into this personality that you create for yourself, you know.
Sure. And that's really easy to shift around too. It seems like, because it from like a psychoanalyst or psychological standpoint, like looking at that, it would be easy to kind of shift around because you can shed these little things, and you know what I mean. It would be like to put yourself in the mind state. It's a little bit. It seems like a convenient actually, because you can kind of mold yourself into, whatever you're trying to shape. So, and with him, it seemed to be an Alex Jones sort of hero kind of, but I mean, I didn't get that vibe that he was that type of cat. But it seemed to me that ultimately when Jones is asked about this, he of course just shuts it down immediately, just like when any shit hits the fan. It just becomes he automatically, well, I don't want nothing to do with that, blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
and he'll just be quiet. And that, it seemed to really just like, since he didn't get the who's gonna give a thumbs up to that A, but the fact that he can't see past that and actually look at it objectively. Wait a minute, it seems like he wasn't able to step outside of himself. That was an issue too, with just an inability to reflect properly on anything, it feels like. But
Yeah, I agree. This was I think this was maybe the very first case where Alex Jones had kind of inspired someone to do something like this, and instead of like trying to take ownership of that in some way, he was just kind of like, this guy sounds crazy to me, I don't know why he would do such a thing. And it was like, well, dude, you made this documentary where you like inspired, and made all of these suggestions about the Bohemian Grove. And then I love this part of it. At the end of his documentary, Jones is standing in front of the Grove giving you driving instructions on how to get there.
Exactly.
So that's how Richard got to the Grove. He just literally followed the directions that Alex Jones gave him at the end of this video.
Hilarious, dude.
So I was like, you should at least like be like, oh, I maybe should have not done this or something.
That's a joke in and of itself. Because in the book, I'm reading that, and I remember him. I do remember seeing that a while back and being like, the ball's on you, man. Wow, you're really putting it out there, aren't you? Like, but let's.
And I'm not saying that he should be held responsible for everything that everyone does that listens to Alex Jones, but you have to admit that over and over again you find out about someone who does something like this, and sure enough, they were way into Alex Jones and InfoWars, and then
they're down.
They take something they see there pretty seriously and decide that it's go time,
Exactly. It's like, yep. And I mean, that's essentially, it's like how we can go through some of his his prison time. He seemed to do okay, and he seemed to actually, he probably, just looking at it, like, I've never sat hard time, but I've sat in jail for a couple of nights, you know what I mean? I think a lot of us have, for silly shit. But the thing is, it's like, okay, this dude with his schedule, with his military, kind of like burned into everything, that he could quickly adapt and not have to worry about, joining the Aryan Brotherhood or the fucking whatever the hell nonsense is going on in there, and not have to really worry about it, because he's got this attached to him, you know what I mean? Like, he's cool for this, you know what I mean? Like, leave that dude alone. He already knows probably Behold the Pale Horse. Get him 38 Laws of Power, whatever the hell that other book is that's banned. Prisons. No, but
one of the funny things he said to me, he said that in prison people pretty much left him alone. He just adapted to his schedule where he'd work out and draw. He did a lot of drawing. And he said that people left him alone because they didn't know exactly what he had done, but they knew he had done something funky to stick it to the man, is how he put it. And they're like, all right, well, this dude must be cool. Let's just leave him alone.
Right? It's so rad, too. And that's, yeah, because Bohemian Grove back then, dude, none of us knew. I mean, that is a weird...
So how long was he in jail for?
He spent about 6.5 years in jail, and then he had an additional 2 or 3 years on probation after that.
Wow.
And and this is another thing, he was literally such a by-the-book, abide by the laws that are kind of like, what would you say, I'd say almost, no, because he didn't abide by natural law, or what we know as kind of like, you know, our quote-unquote God-given, you know, sovereign rights as humans. He abided by, like, a weird, you know, like, so since he was a felon, he couldn't buy a gun. He couldn't do certain things. And he adhered to these things, which is wild to me. It's like...
I think, you know, the law that he followed was he followed the law of the superhero comic books. He was very much read tons and tons of superhero comic books, and I think he really shaped his worldview from that, like good versus evil, and
it's black.
You're either you're black and white. You're a good guy or you're a bad guy,
and a story kind of thing. It felt like, yeah. And I mean, so then during his prison he makes it through. He, you know, gets through with his schedule and blah blah. So then he gets out, and he's released, and he finds do you want to pick it up there, T, and kind of move along, because doesn't he morph into a couple different characters here? And
sure, he's out on parole, which is when he first contacted me. He was still on parole, but he was getting towards the end of the parole, and he didn't have his own computer, so he would email me from a library computer. And then he told me that when his parole was done, he wanted to do a tour of the United States where he would host a peaceful protest in all 48 lower states. And he was really debating whether he was going to do the Phantom Patriot persona again. And he decided to adopt a new one called Thought Crime, which is very George Orwell based. Like
KD, I get too from Minority Report, kind of, you know, like.
Yeah, he had a lot of George Orwell themed parts of his costume, and he would read quotes from 1984 at these protest stops. And so he started planning this, and then the day after his parole was done, he hit the road, and he started winding his way through the states, and he would stand in front of, you know, well-known landmarks like the Golden Gate Bridge or something like that, but also like Mason temples and, you know, 9/11 Ground Zero and places like that. And that's where I first met him, is because he came here to Milwaukee.
Where did y'all go? I'm curious. I just gotta know.
We met up in the 3rd Ward, actually.
Sounds
and then we walked over to Wisconsin Avenue, and we
that's right. You said you walked Wisconsin out. Okay. So
walked up and down Wisconsin Avenue for about an hour, and
the hot dog vendor. That's a great story, because I know that because I've worked in that building.
Yeah, there's a hot dog vendor on the corner of War and Wisconsin, and we found out that he was way into it. He gave Richard a free hot dog, and
gave him
nice.
Talked to him about Alex Jones and
David Icke. Yeah, it's brilliant, dude. It's pretty great. And this
that was where I was like, hey, you know, there's people who are way into Richard, and they're on his side. Like, you never know. The hot dog vendor on the corner is way into this stuff. You never would have guessed that.
For sure.
So.
That's fun. Yeah. But so, yeah, that's just. What year was this that he came to?
That was 2011.
2011.
So I'd just been talking to him for about a year. And then the next year, in 2012, he said, hey, T, this is the 10-year anniversary of my raid on the Bohemian Grove. So I'm going to march on the Bohemian Club headquarters, which is in downtown San Francisco. And there he had recreated his Phantom Patriot costume. and he stood outside of the Bohemian Club headquarters and gave a short speech, and I was there to witness that in person in 2012. And then we stayed in touch, and I met him one last time in 2015, and that was out at his home in Pahrump. I wanted to go visit him on his home turf there and check out his house and do a final round of interviewing with him.
Sure. I gotta ask, how did you kind of? Okay, so this is your fifth book, correct? Is this your
Fourth.
fifth or fourth book? Okay.
Yeah.
So in the amount of time, so were you your first? Was it your first book that was the RLS, the real life superhero?
Yeah.
book? Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I thought. And I heard you on Richard Serrett really randomly. That's actually how I stumbled on you. I'm like, and I heard you mention Milwaukee. And I was like, who is this? How do I not know this? What is going on here? And I'm like, what? And then I see you're friends with such and such. I'm like, what? Like, what is going on here? And yeah, but I remember. So you're writing these other books. How did you kind of keep this on the back burner? Did you keep it? Like, I'm curious to know from your perspective, from an author, journalist perspective, like how this. I don't know how this works. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I first started talking to Richard in 2010, and Heroes in the Night, my first book, came out in 2013.
Okay.
So I had finished that book in 2012, and after I turned it in to my publisher, I started working pretty hard on this book, the story about Richard.
Okay.
So the book came out, and my publisher was like, "Hey, what do you want to do next? We'd be interested in your next book." And I said, "I've got this great. It was good.
Barrel House,
felt
man.
good.
Like, this is a legendary. Like, I don't for people.
Oh well, this was my first book. Was a different publisher.
Okay.
It was Chicago Review Press.
Okay.
So they asked me, and I said, "Hey, I've got this great book about this guy," and they're like, "This is crazy. We don't want this book at all." Or they said that in so many words, you know.
Yeah.
They're like, "This is interesting, but we're not going to go for it. What else do you have?" And that's when I pitched what became my second book.
Okay.
But I knew that this was a good book, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I wasn't going to give it up. I was just like, all right, I'm going to put this on the back burner. I'm going to work on this other book. But I still worked on it a little bit. I kept in touch with Richard and was reading about stuff.
Sure.
And then, that's just kind of the way it went. It kind of went back and forth until I talked to Feral House about it. I was like, I think that they would be a great publisher for this book. And I talked to them about it, and we signed the deal then, and I think it was probably 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And this is post. Wait, did Adam was he still? Wait a minute. Didn't he pass more recently? I feel like.
I had originally spoken to Adam about the book.
Okay.
And he was interested, but that was shortly before he passed away. And then I talked to the new editors about it.
Right on.
So.
And they're carrying it on his, his vision in a strong way. I think.
Well, I was very honored to be, picked up by Feral House, because they're a publisher where I could pick any book out of their catalog and find it very interesting. So at least, if not totally fascinating.
Yeah, so. They've been a punk rock record, like a punk rock record label for. They've been a punk rock publisher, in my opinion, ever since. Alana Freeland's awesome. You know what I mean? Like they've put out all her work, and
great stuff.
Hoffman, all that stuff.
So, but anyway, what was great though is, I'm really glad that my old publisher, Chicago Review Press, didn't pick this up in 2013, because I didn't have nearly anywhere near the full story that I would have had.
And think about all the shit that's transpired with the QAnon bullshit and all the nonsense going on there, and being all the lies.
So I think this was really perfectly timed, actually.
It was.
Be a very topical story.
Absolutely. And once we get through, like it's you do touch on a number of things, that I will address briefly here. The weirdo pizza place where he goes to the Comet Ping Pong we were talking about with Welch.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I remember going, well, I'm gonna do this and mark the notes and be like, I'm gonna not be a jerk about it, but you know what I mean. But you don't necessarily with the Denver airport with DIA. I don't know how many. I've been there like 5 times. It's been a decent amount of time there. And I was there right after they built it. Actually, literally like the year they built it. I flew in. My best friend moved to Longmont.
Dude, every time I've taken a flight west, I've always hoped that they give me a layover in Denver.
Now get this.
But
This is
it happened.
94. I went there the first time after 8th grade because my best friend literally moved out there, and for my birthday, which is right at the beginning of June, my parents went, you want to go hang out with Andy? You know, yeah. He's gone. He's like my best. Like, yeah, I'm an only child too, so it's like a weird, you know. So I would fly out there every summer until I was a senior in high school, and this was literally, yeah. And I remember him when we were driving from the airport when they picked me up the first time. I was like, that is the weirdest, hugest thing. Like all the tents. And like, yeah, it's also like cursed land. Like they built it. They dug up all these Native American. Like they did. They dug up all these burial Native American shit and just said, "F it, move it." They had a bunch of things during the building, and this is 95. 94. I'm being told this, 95, I think. And I mean, like, what? Like, that's awful. And I remember his mom saying, yeah, that place, I don't want to be flying in and out of there. And I'm just like, geez, man, that's true. I just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely that art was there. There are tunnels underneath. I had a next door neighbor when I lived, you know, on Alice there across from Stone Creek and Collectivo, that was an MP, former MP. And he had been stationed in Kuwait City, multiple places. And he was not of the, you know, conspiracy-leaning ilk, but I'll never forget, we got talking on, what day? October 1st, 2017. So it would be October 2nd. So that's the Vegas day. And we both looked at each other like, this is just, there's way too many question mark. And all the footage being put out on YouTube, and then all of a sudden it's just scrubbed. And you can't find any of it. It was like, okay. And we had been passing info, but we weren't getting all psycho about it. It was like, we just know it's not what they said it is, and that's it. And the FBI puts a gag order out. A million things wrong with this situation, but he told me he was stationed in Colorado Springs, and multiple times did he have to go up to DIA and work. Multiple times he couldn't get. I was like, wait a minute. And he goes, yeah, you know where I'm going with this. I was like, I do. I was like, so what's underneath there? And he's like, I have no idea. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, it's following orders, and I had to guard multiple, not a crossroads, but where it kind of, I don't know, it was not a split necessarily, but it was like multiple entrance exit ways, and he had to make sure nobody could, you know, enter from this way, and if they didn't have a certain credential, they couldn't go that way. So there's something. And he's like, there's definitely something. I have no clue what the extent of it is. And, you know, so he...
Plus, there's the giant Booseephus statue. I mean, that's scary.
That story is insane. And the sculptor getting the head dropped on him and dying. Yeah. I mean, there's so
Have
much
you guys heard of Richard Souter?
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
Snake Jones said that something about Richard Souter proved about something about there being bases underneath of the... airport there.
What's up, Aaron?
I'll have to look into it.
Thanks for hanging out tonight. But yeah, so let's if we can, I know you got to move along. Okay, so we got Thought Crime, we got the Thought Crime tour, and I gotta say that it's pretty great. His costume there with the stripes and blah blah blah. We can get into that. Y'all can look it up online. I'm sure these photos are out there, right? They can look into this.
Yeah.
The crisis actor thing. Like, you didn't take a stance on any of that, which I appreciate. Where you're not saying this is bullshit, this is true, that, you know, like, or I believe in this, or lean towards anything. You gave it a very, very centered approach but you do take shots. I mean, I'll use the word take shots and put it in quotations by using it as not bullet points necessarily, but basically if it was laid out, they would just be bullet points. So you got, you know, the way you have it laid out is like crisis actors, the rise of InfoWars. But I mean, we got, let's see here. weirdo pizza place. We all know what that is. We got anti-vaxxers. We touch on flat earthers. But the thing is the crisis actor thing is one that gets me. And it's I don't know if you know, but it's the Dr. Waynell Sexton, George Floyd's second grade teacher, who probably was 5 years old when George Floyd would have been in second grade. We won't get into that here because I would prefer to show you what I've seen, you know what I mean, and then just let you deduce what you would deduce. But so I guess I'll just leave it at Dr. Waynell Sexton and leave that one alone because there are crisis actors. A lot of people don't know that, and when they think about that, they automatically go, "Oh, those are the people that are called in for false flags." If they are, like, whatever, when you're kind of going down these rabbit holes, when it's like, not that. Yeah, no. If you know anything, there's simulation training that people have to do. Boston bombing, though, is one thing where it's like that was actually a drill. Apparently, there's been lots of things where Twitter sent out a thing in the Boston. I think it was the Boston Police Department saying there will be a drill on the day of the marathon. I'm not trying to stick you either, T. I'm not trying to be a dick. I really mean it. I'm not. I just want to make sure that I guess I touch on some of the things because I guess all of these topics have a grain of truth to them to some degree, right? Wouldn't you? Just to a degree, because it's people's rights. It's your right to believe we don't live on. You don't think that we live on a spinning ball at however million miles an hour and this, that, and the other equations that I have no clue and don't understand. We can. That's your right. And I'm not.
You can put anything you want in your own head.
It feels like a psyop. Yeah, right. It feels like a psyop to me, and it always did. I'm like, what are you talking about? I remember being brought up to me at work, like in 2017, early, and being like, you believe really? The fact that, I remember in 2018, a Rasmussen poll came out, breaking down demographics of who believed in flat Earth. I was like, if that doesn't prove that was a psyop, I don't know what does. But hey, it's all on you guys, right? That's not my bag. But I'm not here to go, it's not this and it is this, because how dare I? Because I don't know, And I think I don't want to go crazy, but there's a Rockefeller with the education system. If you do go back and kind of look at when they were introducing into the public school system and the curriculum and this, that, and the other, they teach us what they want us to know. And obviously we learn that when we get older and into college and stuff like that, that we learn certain things because that's, how it goes. But I'm not here to grill you or be a jerk in any way because, it's fascinating. And there's no, in all honesty, there's no inconsistencies from a research standpoint that I could point out and be like, nah, sorry, buddy, this one I got to call you out on. You know what I mean? Like a weirdo, because I got to be me, and I'm not gonna, if I see something off or whatever, I'll, and I have your attention, I'll say something. But yeah, I don't have anything in here where it's any beefs, which I appreciate, because it's hard to get. Besides the straight diss to QAnon, which is...
Well, I use their own words,
You do.
I presented the stuff that they've said, and
give them a rope, and they kick out the chair, tie it up in a noose for themselves, and hang themselves. That's just how it... And I appreciate that because we need to give them more rope. But also, yeah, it's just like I was telling you, Charlie Robinson. Shout out to Charlie. He brought up where it's at least we have a group of people that are but it's fucked up because it's they're in this messed up cult that's of true belief in that Donald Trump is the savior and that he is behind this shit, and it's just are you what kind of thing. And I don't know how deep you went necessarily with dude, you went to a flat Jim, he went to the Flat Earth Conference last year in Dallas, the international.
Yeah.
He did the damn thing. I couldn't even do that. There's no way.
Yeah, I saw a lot of interesting talks, and I saw some live Flat Earth themed hip hop performances, which I never thought that I would.
Flat hop.
It's not something I knew was a thing, but it was.
Well, you went to Flat Earth Fanatic Central. I think anything like that, it's like a Comic-Con. of strange and interesting
It was
faces.
It was kind of like a Flat Earth Comic Con, you know? Like, you had your merch set up and music and talks, and it's interesting, for sure.
Sounds like fun.
That's
Kind of fun. It was fun in a weird way.
Yeah.
right. I mean, torturous. I mean, yeah, it would be like death by a million cuts for me, a little bit, you know. But also at the same time, it's like, well, I can't. It's it's not like we can go out there and be like, prove them. Well, you can with the Mark Sargent. Wait, was it his? I don't know what the exact. Was it him that did those and then had to? Because you point out, I'm sorry, Jim. I'm not sorry, Jim. He points out two great points in the book where it Mark Sargent, and all love to Mark Sargent because he's great dude. But the two things where it wasn't were like what the laser test or $20,000 piece of equipment they buy to prove everybody Globebusters, like they try to prove everybody wrong and they have to eat shit and they just twist it out. Yeah, like they find it. Okay, there's this'll tell. And
It's like paralleling when people get into the conspiracy realm of whatever the conspiracy is, and then they get a lot of they kind of get pushed, and then they make it look bad. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a right or wrong, if it's a true conspiracy or not, but it seems like it's in every. There's people drinking their pee, that are big in every freaking conspiracy, and like they get a ton of people following them, and then they start doing something weird, like drinking their pee, and it's like everything is co-opted.
oh yeah,
And controlled.
definitely feels like it. That's for sure. Like, so after, I mean, I get it. Like this isn't you though. Kind of like this isn't your everyday. Like it's for myself and Jen. We're like, I'm not gonna speak for Jen. I'll speak for myself. But all these topics, I was led to these topics from the paranormal, where I researched, ghosts, apparitions, that kind of thing. The phenomena, because I had an experience when I was 16 that was just like, oh my god, and another person experienced it too. So I was like, okay, now I can't let this die, kind of, you know what I mean? Like I'll never forget it. So then that happens right at a time where it's like, okay, I'll never forget that, and I'll always have this now kind of little thing, and so it was like to the early 2000s. I remember seeing Most Haunted on like Travel Channel, the English show, and being just like, I can't stop. Like before any of this stuff was out, I remember, and I had a couple friends that would come over, and my ex-wife, God love her, would just be like, then wife would be like, all right, you boys are just gonna sit here and watch ghost shows, huh? I'm like, yep. I'm just like nerd out. I just went through hell. Sorry, Crystal. And yeah, it was just, but it led me to UFOs. And then I was like, okay, Jacques Vallée, I feel like he's, and then that took me down the where I guess where I am right now, whereas no, I don't have my head in any rabbit hole. I've got it. I mean, I do, but I don't, you know what I mean? There's nothing that I'm just like, there's no hyper focus on any one thing. It's just kind of like, but someone that's willing to be shaken out of their stupor, so to speak, of like just believing everything. For example, believing what the the MSM tells you, and believing the news, like anything, it's just like if this year hasn't been a microcosm of a micro of the macro, I don't know what else is. It's a really weird, divisive as well. It'll get it's the way everything is just so polarized. It's wild. It's just wild. I don't want to keep you too long, buddy. I feel
Yeah. No, I gotta get going in a minute here, but you have a last question or anything like that?
Just basically, I guess, and yeah, we're gonna have you back, so we'll just leave it at that, right? You're down to come back, right?
Yeah, absolutely, anytime.
Awesome. Okay, so let's do this. Let's say I can't give away, you guys. I can't give away the book here. I will touch on one thing where I had to write a little note actually on my little tab here, where it just says, "Where's Sharpton?" And when you go into the campaign of conspiracies, when you get into Roger Stone, who, God, he is a piece of absolute human trash, but I respect him because he owns his shit, right? He owns he owns being a rat fucker. He admits it. He knows what he is, and he owns it, and I appreciate that.
He dresses up like a Batman villain sometimes, yeah.
This is like a woman, and takes it over a barrel as well. But more power to him, man. Like, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, props to him. Like, I'm not some, like, whatever, but Get Me Roger Stone was a great documentary.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, I thought it was funny. I had to write it down because you list them all. And I don't know if you even know, but yeah, Alf, he literally, it just shows the political psychodrama, that's playing out today. For anybody listening right now or watching right now, Roger Stone represented Al Sharpton and was his campaign manager when he ran for president, I believe in 1988. If I'm wrong, it's 92. No shit. So if that doesn't tell you that there's blanket labeling people racists and Nazis just by affiliation is bullshit and stupid, and people need to stop doing that, but I can't change the world. And B, politics is politics, and nobody gives a shit. And behind the scenes, they're all friends. And I don't, you know what I mean? Anybody buying that it's anything less than that, I'm sorry, I feel bad. You know what I mean? That you've wasted all this time, but I guess that's not a question. So I guess it's like, what is it like to come out to basically kind of, because you don't, like I was attempting to juxtapose before. Jim and I are into some, whatever, we touch on all kinds of things over here. Where, like, this was like not a job, but like a journal, like, this is almost like a biographical, look back on Richard McCaslin's life. And so I guess, what would be the one takeaway from your relationship with Richard, and I guess from this whole thing? Okay, in your head, I guess I'll put it like this. How do you view the entire, I can't say state of conspiracy, because it's such a weird, there's so many, like we've already touched on so many different things here. But how do you look at this, like stepping out of it? Because you stepped into it for a while with this book, and you had to immerse yourself in it. But I mean, stepping away and kind of having the, just what's your personal take today, right now, especially with this weird ass election going down, where it's clear to me that Biden won, whatever. It's not like much is going to change, and it wasn't as much voting so much for Biden as it was, getting rid of him. And I get it. But what do you take away today, right now? How do you view the whole conspiracy zeitgeist, I suppose I'll put it?
Okay. Well, I think my first interest in this story was I just thought Richard had a unique life story, but I was interested in it because I've been interested in conspiracy stuff. I thought that I knew a lot about conspiracy when I started the book, and that turned out not to be true. But, since I was a teenager, I had interests in UFO cases. I was interested in the JFK assassination, especially when Oliver Stone's movie came out.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff like that I was interested in. So I was like, oh, this guy's into conspiracy. And, I know some stuff about that. I think it's interesting. But I found out that it kind of goes to a dark place sometimes,
Indeed.
And I think that he was very much inspired by a documentary by Alex Jones that I would say is misinformation.
100%.
And now, fast forward to the year 2020, and we're just being bombarded from all sides with just tons of misinformation and stuff that looks like it could be real news, but it could be fake news, while at the same time some of the real news is called fake news. And
Yeah,
it's just a huge mess of this explosion, especially this year when you have a pandemic and civil unrest and this election. It's just like the
Coincidental.
perfect storm of not the storm that QAnon is talking about, but
That's never. Oh,
this
hey, you gotta
a
wait for that.
tidal wave of
Be
crazy
patient,
stuff.
right? For that storm. That's still coming, guys. Just
Right.
stick to the plan, right? Isn't that what it is? Yeah. But yeah,
So it's funny because when I wrapped this book up last year, I was like, I hope that there's something topical that I can talk about in 2020, and that turned out not to be a problem at all. We're seeing it every day. So
every day.
yeah.
Yeah, man, it's fascinating. It's crazy, this ride that I went on. It was definitely a fucking crazy ass roller coaster ride, dude. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's a great. I
Thank
think it's great work.
Thank you.
Man, Tea Krulos. The book is American Madness. The story of well, I just want the story of the Phantom Patriot and how conspiracy theories hijacked American consciousness. Out now on Barrel House. We'll have a link.
Yeah. I was just gonna say you can find it wherever books are sold. Also, I've got a website,
Yep, I was about to
teakrulos.com.
say, lay it all out there.
Yeah, teakrulos.com, TEAKRULOS is where I have more information on all my books, including American Madness. And I write a column on my website called Tea's Weird Week.
Sweet. That's it. That's all the links you want to shout out. We'll throw the links in the chat and everything else for the podcast format and everything. And T, really appreciate your time tonight. And again, we'll go back. We'll next time, dude. We'll get dirty.
All right.
Dude.
Okay.
Thanks again for the reschedule. Appreciate you, buddy.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It's great talking to you guys.
All right,
I appreciate it.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye. It's great.
Bye-bye.
Great to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Awesome.
That
That was fun.
that was great.
I mean, I just read the book, so I was like, we were under time crunch. So yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, it is a wild story, and how do we not know about? How is this? When I had coffee with T last week, I'm sitting there. Who the fuck is Richard McCaslin? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do I not know who this cat is? And then I read through it. It's like, and it becomes it becomes like very. Now I won't say emotional, but it does. You get to a point, and T got to that point, and he expresses it in his writing, where it's like, dude, I made friends with this guy. You know what I mean? Like it, and granted, when you're reading this book, it's like, and going through McCaslin's life, yeah, this dude has no friends. Like this dude literally has one friend who because his mom pulled him aside when he was younger and told him to look out for him because he doesn't have any real friends. That's the only reason this guy stuck with him being his friend and took care of his estate when he passed away and assisted T in a lot of the research, like you know what I mean, like sending him, making sure he got this and got that, but he inherited like $600,000 at least, at least $500,000.
Yeah, like 675 grand or something is what I thought that I read.
A lot of money.
That that's enough to live, and on your own in modest digs, and have your own little Batman sort of lifestyle. I think
And that crazy thing is like I said, you're gonna read. I'm mailing it to you on Monday, but it's like he, it's weird. He gets he finally finds a home in Pahrump, Nevada, and builds a bat cave essentially, right? Where all the RLSH real life superheroes can. He wanted to start the Pacific Protectorate, I believe it was called, which was literally like two cats. I believe one of them's named like Motormouth, and another one, and they're from the California area, and have that literally be like the lair, like the bat cave.
Yeah.
And have them all come for meetings, and he had like a round table and everything all set up, and the way he ultimately ended his life, you guys, was by driving to Washington D.C. and since he was a felon, he couldn't buy a gun, so he legally didn't buy a gun, nor did he obtain one off the black market. What does the guy do? He gets a cattle gun, or whatever it's called, right? Where you kill the cow.
From Old Country, No Country for Old Men. Oh.
He gets that and takes it with him to DC in a pickup, in a truck, decks it out, with all kinds of crazy, Obama's reptilian, all this shit, and basically parks in front of the. I mean, this is a grand exit if I've ever heard of one, but parks in front of the Scottish Rite, DC, headquarters there, right there, and takes one, like tries to blow. Guess how long he ended up? He didn't die right there, you guys. He ended up being. Uh, he was tried to be saved, but he was literally alive like 30 hours after he did that to himself, because that doesn't. It's not meant to kill humans. It's meant to kill, a cow or
Yeah.
large cow.
Oh, for all you guys listening, we're talking about the book American Madness, that was written by our last guest, Tea Krulos is his name.
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet, but I'm super excited to read it, and it's about
I
this.
read it in 2 sittings, and it's not like some little, it's heavy, but 2 sittings. That's it. It was that riveting and fascinating.
It's about a guy who sort of became a vigilante. He was interested in comics and dressed up as his own superhero, and he tried to raid Bohemian Grove.
He did raid. He chose to raid Bohemian Grove too. He was gonna do it when they have their meeting, their big gathering in the summer, but he chose to do it. He was gonna do it, and he literally was in San Francisco that day when they were all having their meeting, and he thought he had a change of heart and said, "Wait a minute. If I do this, I don't have a master plan yet," kind of thing, like he didn't have it all planned out and worked out. And he also thought, well, if I go in January, then I'll catch the diehard Satanists. You know what I mean? Like, he really thought there was going to be people there all year round.
Yeah, but why would you think that they would be there in off season? Yeah, like, I don't know, like, I wonder if, I mean, people who could be suggestible, if they have mental illness, or maybe I wonder if, like, he was kind of put into that situation to be
pushed into it,
like, just to.
There's no ties. I mean, that would have
Well,
to take
in the military is a big thing, because
Sure.
a lot of people have been in the military, and I know that a lot of MK programs sort of have
Sure.
a military.
That's another. Oh, dude, we didn't even go there. There's another
Basis.
thing where he's obsessed, Jim, with this country star who I've never even heard of before the book, named Shelley Wright or something.
Yeah, it's with a CHELY.
Doctor, stalked her like crazy. Literally couldn't. He'd never really had a good relationship with a woman, so he was so. He just didn't know how to handle it, that he literally bid on her for $14,500 at a charity auction in Nashville to go on a date with her the next night at the restaurant of his choosing. He paid it, but with that payment, he assumed, and I'm gleaning this from what T wrote because he didn't outright say it, but I mean, let's be realistic. The guy was so old-fashioned that he ended up assuming that $14,000 that he had just bid on for this very, very, impersonal date kind of thing was grounds for, grounds for sex type situation, or at least a phone number.
He
literally.
He thought that it was like a prostitution thing, or that it was like a real date, like a relationship.
Yes, and he had never obviously had a date in high school, because he would have figured he wouldn't have ever had that thought even come into his brain that there's a chance, and he got obsessed with this woman to the point where literally the Secret Service had to get involved with, T had to file FOIA requests.
I thought that the Secret Service got involved because of the presidents are in the club, the Bohemian Grove Club, right?
That's right. That's probably correct. But from the FOIA report, and I don't want to mince words and get T wrong here, but yeah, from the FOIA request he submitted, he ended up getting it from it was from the Secret Service. But they touched on his Shelley Wright nonsense, because they came back after he had a run-in right after he had got so right after he gets out of prison for the first time, he gets put on parole, and he wanted to relocate to LA area to be closer to his friend Lon, the only friend in the world that he had. And he got denied that and was told he had to live in Sonoma County, when part of the stipulation was, with the judge's ruling, was that you cannot, you know, you cannot go anywhere near the Bohemian Grove. Like, you can't go within this amount of space. You cannot, because he showed no remorse. He said if I had anything to change, he's like, it was, you know, he's on the stand talking. He's like, yeah, if I had anything to change, I would do it this way. And he basically showed no remorse, like he should have, just to appease whatever. But anyway, showed no remorse, so therefore, with the stipulations were that he couldn't be anywhere near there, he can't this, that, and the other. And what does the judge do after apparently, or his parole officer places him in Sonoma? He's like, you can't leave Sonoma County. So what happens? He's seen doing something where he has like a little minor run-in, and the cops run his record, and like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then like he shows them his ID, tells them, you know, his situation. Then literally the next morning, he gets let out. He's like, you guys are gonna have to let me out. They take him to jail for something stupid, find out they have nothing on him, and he ends up going home. Well, the next morning, the Secret Service is knocking on his door. And because of, I'm pretty sure it's because of the Chelly Wright thing. Because the Chelly Wright thing happened before he raided Bohemian Grove.
So what happened besides he purchased a date with her for $14,000, and then
He had the date the next day.
did he like make a move on her or something, or
He did, which is insane. Yeah,
like
he tried.
what happened?
So it's here. So he ends up going. They go out, and they go eat at some steakhouse type thing. And I'm getting to it. And apparently, okay. So he has the dinner. Here it is. It says, the Secret Service file includes an analysis of the search of Richard's apartment in Carson City the day after his raid. The report notes that, quote, the apartment was neat and clean. This is when he got arrested from Bohemian Grove, okay? So this is what the Secret Service reports. Quote, the apartment was neat and clean. The refrigerator and kitchen cabinets were empty and there was no food, unquote. And in this sparse apartment, they found comic books, weapons, and a Bowflex machine in the living room. They found a notebook labeled, quote, Phantom Patriot missions on his coffee table, which logged his symbolic appearances and had poems in it. Next to the journal on the coffee table was the dark secrets inside the Bohemian Grove and the documentary on VHS, as well as a Bible and self-defense and martial arts training videos. On his bookshelf, they found provocative reading material and made a note of 3 titles in particular. Those 3 titles are 101 Things to Do Till the Revolution, Ideas and Resources for Self-Liberation. The next one is Monkey Wrenching and Preparedness by Claire Wolfe, a guide to living off the grid, titled Bulletproof Privacy, How to Live Hidden, Happy, and Free, written by a survivalist with the pseudonym Boston Tea Party. And Knights of Darkness, Secrets of the World's Deadliest Night Fighters by Dr. Haha Loom, who specializes in ninjutsu and other fighting techniques. Most attention-grabbing was a display on the coffee table. From a police report, this is what it says, how it reads. During the search of his apartment, I found a photograph displayed on one of the tables in the living room. The picture was autographed. Although I wasn't familiar with Chelly Wright, it appeared she was a celebrity, like the rest of us. What was disconcerting was the photograph is that it appeared to be set up as some sort of shrine. Below the photograph was Phantom Patriot artwork inside a plastic bag. So that's the end of what it says. So it goes on. It goes on to say, later I would meet Richard in person. By then I had been corresponding with him for over a year. While driving around the hilly streets of San Francisco, he casually asked if I had heard of a singer named Chelly Wright. No, I replied. Oh, she's a country music singer, he told me. I replied that I wasn't very knowledgeable about country and more of a rock and roll guy myself. He said that he had a weird experience with her, in quotes. And the thought got lost in the day. A lot was going on. Later he mentioned Wright and a quote-unquote date he had with her again in an email. This time I was curious enough to consult Google. I paired Richard McCaslin and Chelly Wright and searched. I got one hit. It was an entry in a column called Country Beat for MTV.com, dated June 13th, 2001, reading, quote, dinner with Shelly Wright went for $14,500 at her celebrity auction and benefit June 12th at Nashville's Wild Horse Saloon. An avid Wright fan, Richard McCaslin, made the winning bid for dinner with the singer at the Nashville restaurant of his choice. The event raised money for the Wrights reading, blah, blah, blah. T writes, oh shit, I thought, what now? So during his downward spiral, blah, 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 it was a video for a hot new single White Female by Shelly Wright that lured him in. It was soon #1 on the country music charts. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Okay, so here's the account here. Okay. At first, Richard says that the date went well. Wright was quote-unquote thrilled with his choice of Marine uniform for him to wear, for the date. Let's see. To my surprise, it says, hey, we got Greg. What's up? Here he is. We got Booseephus with us, joining us, everybody. But I'll just finish this very briefly. Okay. What's up, buddy?
Howdy, howdy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
How you doing, bud?
Sorry to interrupt.
You fucking asshole. No. Crazy. This is just wild. So, I'm talking about Shelly Wright. I don't know if you've caught any of it. But yeah, we just had Tea Krulos on, and this story is insane. This Richard McCaslin dude. See, it's like, who the hell do you know about this dude?
Just when you gave me the link, I looked.
Thank you. And all of your knowledge, just from the link that I just sent you earlier today, it was the first time you really kind of heard about this. How the hell? And again, I thank T for bringing this out. Like, we don't know. Like, the conspiracy community doesn't even have a fucking clue who this guy really is, because his shit just went. It happened right after 9/11. He decides to raid Bohemian Grove in 2000, like January of 2002, and he gets there. He brings a gun, a knife. He literally he sees the Alex Jones documentary, and he was like into comics so hard, and was like an only child and had no relationship, like a total like incel type character. But dude, where am I going? Jim, he raids it, gets arrested, serves time in prison. Then he wrote to T, because T was writing a book on real life superheroes, like literally going flying out to locations, meeting with them, doing actual embedded embedded journalism work. That's what it is. I mean, he's going to these fucking places,
Right.
and he got, he had to earn the trust of these, real life crime fighting people. Like, they were like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, all right, he's gonna write about us and not in a slanderous, he's just gonna write us in an objective way. So it took a long time, he said, I remember, to get into this little group of weird subculture. So that's how correspondence began with the two. Was in 2010. You need to stop trying. In 2010, he sent Richard or Tea Krulos an email saying, hey, my name is Richard McCaslin. I think you might be interested in my story. I'm wondering if you can reach out to some the RLSH community, the real life superhero community, because this dude had no friends either, really. And yeah, he's an ex-Marine. He's crazy. The whole story is just really, really wild. But he, along the way, has an obsession with this Shelly Wright, famous in the country music. I don't know what the fuck that is. But yeah, he had an obsession with her to the point where he was so obsessed with her from a video he caught called Single White Female on like CMT that we can all picture it. We know these type of dudes. And I think we've all gone through this, actually.
I was gonna say I am that type of dude.
I know, as a kid, I remember Madonna seeing. I don't remember which Madonna video, but I know I was probably like 10, and I was like in love with Madonna, right? Absolute love with her, dude, from some video on MTV, and
What video?
that.
What video was it? Do you remember?
I don't know. It wasn't like a. I feel like it might have been like a prayer.
Do you remember when the book Sex came out by Madonna?
Of course.
That was a day that my life got ruined, literally, because I went to this huge bookstore and I was like wandering around Powell's Books. It's in Portland.
I've been there.
It's like a whole city block, and it's this huge bunch of buildings that are all put together, and it's the biggest bookstore this side of the Mississippi.
Great bookstore.
And I was sneaking around by myself. I was probably 12, and I found this book, the Madonna's book, and it was called Sex. It's sort of like softcore porn, and I was flipping through it, and I was like, wow, that's gross. And then a few minutes later, I found this other book about the Beatles, and I started reading through that, and there's this one part where they're talking about how, I don't remember who was talking, it was Paul or something, and he's talking about how the very first time that they went to go meet the Queen, they all went and smoked a joint in the bathroom at the palace because they were all nervous before they're going to meet the Queen. And I was like, oh my gosh, the Beatles did drugs? I was like, I was crushed. My heroes, the Beatles, they did drugs? And then I started looking into it, and I was like, holy shit, the Beatles started the counterculture, man. You know,
What year? How old were you?
I was 12 or something. You know, I was just getting into the Beatles. I was just loving it, listening to all the Beatles music. I was totally getting into it.
Really?
And I read this, and I was like, oh man, and it totally changed the way that I saw everything. You know, because I was like, how could the drugs be bad?
That Dare program worked you over proper, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it was pretty big. They're like, if you do drugs, you're gonna get AIDS and die.
Yeah, no shit. They really did. They did a number on us, just like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I mean, space. Did I say fake? No. Space? It's real.
Fake?
Fake?
Something with it.
Yeah. So this dude, man, it's wild, and how he's not. Hopefully, this book brings some. I mean, honestly, let's be realistic here. It's on Feral House, okay? That's a good check mark, in my opinion. I don't care how... It's still out of par for me. It's still got that veneer, you know? It's still got that patina to its name for me. It's not like Epitaph Records, but you remember the Punk-O-Rama comps when we were kids? Or the Victory Records Victory Style comps. That was a... And for hip hop, Sound Bombing and Sound Bombing 2, those are all that's great, you know, kind of intros into this kind of subculture, and that's how I kind of Feral House still has that patina, and so I hope it gets into the hands of. I just hope a lot of people can get a chance to read it because it's a fascinating story. He does, I mean, Alex Jones is a fucking scumbag, so I mean.
Hey, we got Daz here. Do you want to send him a link?
Yeah, well, that'll be good.
Do you want to hop on, Daz?
Don't disappear in the meantime, Daz, because I promise I'm hurrying. Hold on. Alright, so... Don't disappear.
Yeah.
Where does he want it?
Maybe his Twitter?
Alright. It's coming.
Yeah, he says Twitter.
Alright, Twitterius it is.
Twitterius. Yeah.
So, this dude, did he you said he killed himself with a...
Yeah, with the No Country for Old Men. Yep. Because he was a felon and couldn't buy a gun, and that's the kind of guy he was.
See, that's a shame, because someone who's a vet that, you know, did stuff for the country, can't even get a gun.
I know.
It's not right.
It would have been bad, probably. But no, he wanted to kill himself.
He could get guns.
Yeah, he could.
He could get guns.
Yeah. You know, friends. That was probably why. He's like, oh, I have no friends.
Yeah, I have no friends.
I have no friends in the mafia or crime cartels to give me a legal gun.
You can just stand out in front of a pawn shop for half a day and be like, are you selling guns? Are you selling guns? Are you selling guns?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll give you 20 bucks more than what he's selling it, or he's going to pay you for it.
All right.
Come out and tell me. And, I mean...
Sounds like you know from.
I would never ever buy a gun, especially one that wasn't registered, or you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I own a gun. It's registered. It's got my.
Darren, Daz, you're all set, brother. So
Yeah, I bought 100 rounds
nice.
4 months ago and just got it today. 4 months.
Damn, that barge is slow.
I will shoot this in 20 minutes and it'll be done.
Was that Remington?
Winchester. Yeah, it's just plinker. You know, it's just for.
22.
No, just 9mm.
Oh,
If someone else
That's
gets
planky.
it first, let him in the waiting room, okay?
Now I gotta get ready for the Civil War, right?
Hey, it's game on. It's game time.
yeah.
I gotta switch my monitor real quick, guys. So give me a second.
All right.
But go ahead
Is this what we're doing? I'll add.
I love that song.
No, I do too. I like the technical difficulty song too from The Simpsons.
What's
What I'm talking about.
What's the technical difficulty song?
Oh
Oh yeah.
Something. I think something Spanish Fly. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great song. That's a classic.
Mexicali Brass, dude. Mexicali Brass.
Yeah.
It's like what's that one? Phenomenon.
Yeah.
That's an awesome song. If I hear that, it gets in my head for like a week or two. I just can't stop it.
So I do apologize. I didn't get to see it. I wanted to watch the interview. How'd it go?
It went good. It went good. I wish it was a little bit longer. I feel like there's a lot of questions I wanted to ask, and also like I want to read the book because it sounds super interesting. I looked it up on, and read the first 3 things that Google sent me towards, and it sounded
I gotta take this dog out real quick, guys. I'll
just
be right back.
super interesting. Well,
So what's the gist? So it was mainly revolved around this guy who thought he was a superhero and.
yeah, basically like sort of had a troubled childhood. Maybe he got abused by his dad, beat around or something, sort of had to like, I would think, I mean, I heard that he was abused, but I would think that like, you kind of would retreat into your own little world, would be heavy on fantasy and stuff,
Yeah.
Then he joined the military and was there for a little while, and then after that, he kind of would have honed those skills. Yeah, and then I don't know the order specifically, but he started watching Alex Jones, started getting sort of fanatical about stuff, and was walking around dressing up as his own sort of superhero character and walking around town, sort of trying to like get awareness for stuff. And
Right.
He moved to
Isn't that like a phenomenon in like Seattle? Isn't there like a few guys that do that?
Vancouver.
Vancouver?
Yeah.
I thought they did that in Seattle too. I thought I saw that like on a documentary or something.
I've seen some people before doing that. I mean,
Vancouver. Yeah, that's an interesting phenomenon.
Crazy world here in Liverpool, UK. We are the first British city or major location to have the military within our location. For the past couple of months, we've had military helicopters flying over the city with no explanation from the British government as to why this is happening. And then a few days ago, the mayor of Liverpool suddenly invited the British military to take over the COVID testing from a company known as Serco. And this COVID testing is open to anybody that wishes to have it. So yesterday was the first day of this, and as you would have guessed, there were people that were coughing their lungs up, standing directly next to people that were perfectly healthy. So the actual COVID rate will likely increase in this city. So the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Wow!
Yeah.
It just gets better and better.
The land of the Beatles.
So they're just gonna do that movie by Michael Bay. Start off there and then all the way here. Ah, Jesus.
Yeah, so it's, and also there's a very strong rebellious factor here in Liverpool. Basically, they did a survey of all the parliamentary constituencies here for the December 2019 general election, and the constituency that least liked the monarchy was in Liverpool, down the road from me, Liverpool Riverside. So we've had major protests around the lockdown, with one happening just a few hours ago. So it was a lot of youth, a lot of street youth are very, very angry about this. Likely because it's obviously locked down the drug trade. Because if people believe that they will get COVID-19, they're not going to go to their nearest dealer for their little disco
And then
biscuits
they get
or
withdrawals.
or Jamaican cigarettes. So the withdrawal symptoms are cause and aggravation in the city. And the cherry on this Liverpool cake is the latest Batman film with Robert Pattinson. Was elements of it was being filmed there 2 weeks ago when mass protests were happening. So as people were going to the protests, they were seeing Batman on top of the Liver building. So people were freaking out, saying, "Why is Batman in Liverpool?" So there's all this strange symbolism and connection and tension going on in the city. So the UK feels very, very strange. And on top of it, we have a truly incompetent leader. He makes Donald Trump seem like Mark Twain. That is how inept Boris Johnson is as a leader. So the whole nation is confused and paranoid and worried. So that is the vibe of the UK at the moment.
Wow. It sounds like conditions are perfect for a revolution.
Well, it depends what revolution that will be. It could be that the people could rise, but it could also be that it could be a V for Vendetta situation,
Oh, yeah.
where like a conglomerate of military and business come together and create a fascist government, because the current government is inept and can't organise. One example, which was pathetic, it was announced last Saturday that the Prime Minister was going to give a national address at 4 p.m. Then, with 15 minutes to go, it was put back to 6 p.m. And then, when it was 5 to 6, 5:55, it was finally put to 7 p.m. So this is how unorganised the current leadership in the country is. They can't even fathom to put a national address together. So it's ripe for, as you say, a revolution, but what revolution will that be? And the difference between, I would say, America and Britain is because we don't have firearms. Britain is very visceral with the violence. It's street violence, it's knives, it's machetes,
On
it's
fire.
it's it's axes, it's petrol bombs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, there was a huge disturbance in 2011 in the summer. It was worldwide news where London was burning, and it was the most vicious and prolonged riots in the country's history. And that was no firearms, that was just street violence. So it's very worrying, the situation here. And then Alan Moore, based on V for Vendetta, he claims obviously to be a magician, and he claims obviously to have maybe some sort of clairvoyance. So I don't know if the work within V for Vendetta is a prophecy on what might happen in a way in the UK, and then based on his magic, he's trying to um, put that as a warning to the general population as to like this might occur, and if it occurs, well, you've read it in the book and you've seen it in the film, so this is how you counter it. So it's all very interesting at the moment. And then the weirdest one, I've spoken about a lot of weird things, but I think this is the weirdest one thinking about it because it's currently 4:52 a.m. here, so I'm not really firing on all cylinders. But the Queen's first engagement was 2 weeks ago, and it was at the place where the British military make their chemical weapons. And everyone was like,
Wow.
why is the Queen's first engagement at Portadown?
Well, she's 93, isn't she?
Yeah, so it's very interesting that location was used for her first royal engagement in maybe not in 2020, but at least since the 23rd of March when the lockdown began. So even when it was eased, she was not doing any public engagements. So as I say, it's all very interesting. How is the vibe in Uncle Sam land?
Well, how about you start first?
Oh, man.
Oh, it's back.
How's it going?
What? Go ahead.
As far as the vibe goes, you'd have to ask somebody else because I've been avoiding it. I've been buried with work for the last 2 weeks, and I might like check the news like every day a little bit, but I feel like it's just up in the air chaos, and it's meant to destabilize and to polarize and to divide, and they got to work it up so that the riots will be good, and that everybody wants a change. They feel like everything's fucked up, but they don't know what they want. They don't know what like a revolution is a revolution, but then after the revolution, what's going to happen? Like
Always shit steps in.
Yeah.
Goes, I'll take care.
Yeah, there's somebody that's had the plan, and it's it was planned to come into effect in 2020. What's it called? Agenda 2020, all that stuff. Like we will revolt, and then we'll be like, yeah, those guys are dead. We cut their heads off and pulled down their statues. And then they're like, well, what are you gonna do now? And we're like, I don't know. And then the business comes in, and they say, we know. The government comes in and they say, we know. And all of a sudden we're living in, what's the guy's name? The Alan
Moore V for Vendetta.
Yeah. He's on the board of directors for the New World Order's rolling in, I would imagine. That's why he's a prognosticator. That's why he's a prognosticator.
So the vibe in Walla Walla is very chilled.
No, it's pretty polarized.
I would say the tensions, you can feel it in the air.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't get out a lot, and I'm in Reno, the biggest little city over here on the West Coast. It's basically California now, but most people are just like, you just feel the tension. No one talks, no one looks at each other in the eye, especially with the mask, because they're like, it's not gonna work well, I guess.
The people come out. Yeah, sorry. You realize their political views because they tell you, and it's on the tip of their tongues.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Did you ever see a classic episode of Ray Donovan based in Reno, Nevada?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was a sort of strange, fucked up road trip with his father, Mickey, and it was almost explaining about what Reno is and its history. But I'd heard of Reno before, but really I knew about what it was in a way from that episode of Ray Donovan. But it was very interesting what it is as a place and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely changed a lot in the last decade. Like, it's definitely more just, it looks like Berkeley now, but before it was very red, a lot of violence, a lot of drunken, because it's mostly casinos and stuff like that, or at least it was in the past. We're close to Virginia City, where like the bucket of blood and all that stuff, so a lot of violence happened there. It's pretty too. We have mountains close by, and but it's very small. But yeah, it's definitely just completely different now. It's just I don't know. I've grown up here most of my whole life, but it's you know it's famous for its own right, but it's debate. But Nevada in itself has gotten hit hardest economically since the COVID.
Mm.
So it's just very strange seeing like everything still not really operating. Like all the casinos are sorted open now, but some of them went down, and some like mob guys bought one of them. So we'll see. Russian mob, I hear. So we'll see what happens with that. Uh,
So what's the vibe like in Milwaukee, David?
Good to see you, buddy. Um, it's the same kind of same. Nothing's changed. You know what I mean? Just the same. It's just a little bit more amplified, but not. I don't know. It's not like people are. For example, if we're talking on just the general vibe, it's just we all get it. We all get it. Donald Trump lost. Doesn't really matter if it's legal or not, but the whole process is what it is. Nobody gives a shit, and it's kind of perfect to like. Feels like, even like somebody who's a strong Republican in my family that I will not name, getting that person's take is like, they don't care. She doesn't. She's like, oh, it's over. Just come on, be a man now. You know what I mean? It don't basically like just can't really. And it feels like I'm like, well, don't you think it feels like it's kind of like an easy letdown? Like, give us 4 days to count your shit, and we'll, you guys, chill out, like on some stand down shit. You know, like it feels like that. That's the vibe, and it's kind of like, it wasn't so much as, which is funny to hear the Republicans being like, keep this Joe Biden socialist. Like, dude, he's not. I don't. Like, he's not some socialist type cat. You know what I mean?
Neocon,
He does
dude.
have his say, right? Like we know clearly, kind of know that. But it's the fact that you know what I mean, though, Greg. It's a weird thing.
He's got Dick Cheney supposedly working with him now.
I
That's
don't-
what. So
Hey,
well, I don't know.
it's weird. It's kind of like, it's like everybody knows there's friggin' in the rigging and it's messed up, right? But it's like anybody who doesn't know that, it's like what, and then if they don't know it, I've noticed I'll be like, well, did you A and B kind of think of this? Well, didn't remember when this happened? Oh yeah, shit. And then it's like automatically, it's like they snap out of whatever they were in for a minute and they're like, oh yeah, this whole thing is bullshit anyway. It's weird.
What's interesting about America, it reminds me of um, Napoleon and Adolf Hitler. And basically, Napoleon's on the northern French coast, ready to invade England, the southern part of it, Dover. And for some reason, he has a genius idea that to leave that and to take his troops right through Europe and then to try to invade Russia as the summer is ending and the winter is beginning. And that march and the subsequent fight in Moscow just depletes his forces, leaves his northern coast of his native France exposed, and then the British invade, and then the same thing Hitler does in World War II. So the thing with this is Trump is Trump is the protege of Richard Nixon.
Essentially by proxy.
And the thing with Nixon, what a lot of historians claim, is that he was the piñata for young people in that day because they had school principals like Richard Nixon, fathers like Richard Nixon, grandfathers, supervisors, bosses, university lecturers, police officers. So he was hated because of his manner and demeanour and expression. Now, Trump is under his wing as a young man, then is more or less replicated with Nixon, because he is now the piñata for everybody in America and the rest of the world, because we have all had dealings with white men of a certain age in the late 60s, early 70s that have been arseholes to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I think Trump is despised, even though people know that Biden is like inappropriate. Like the thing that flabbergasted me was Erica Badu, who was this like feminist and this female empowered artist, on her Instagram yesterday put a meme that was Biden almost kissing the neck of Trump with his hands on his shoulders. And that is a still from Biden doing it to a woman in an inappropriate manner. So I'm like, doesn't Erica Badu know what she is promoting here? But I think because people have had so much negativity, Trump is the archetype or the avatar, and they just want to, if they can't get that school principal that used to bully them at school, or that cop in their local area that used to harass them as a teenager, they'll get it at Trump. So I think that's the reason why, like, even though you said, David, people know the fix is in,
Right.
people will accept it.
Exactly. And that's the whole that's kind of just that's the brilliant summation, and you're nowhere near here. And yeah, that's spot on, because it does feel like that, because it's like, and to deny that inside of me, because I don't deny it, because because that's essentially what it is. He's that dude. You know what I mean? Like, we all have had that run-in with that archetypal, like you said, it's an archetype 100% with that dude. And we all, I understand, I can step outside myself and understand how other people can tap, because it'll galvanize people, like it's weird, it's cult like, it's very cult leader like, and I don't give a shit what you think about that. It's true. And I don't give a shit about Stephen Hassan. It's true. You know what I mean? Like, we can all agree on a few things here. And if you're denying this one thing, you've been brainwashed properly. Do you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, but this is an undercurrent, a huge undercurrent in the country, though, and I think you guys can agree, Jim and Booseephus, that we all kind of get it and know that it's kind of like, just, isn't it fitting that they finally pulled soap operas off the air? And look at what they've replaced it with too. I've noticed that.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the psychodrama,
Like Borat.
Syrian thing. Yeah, this is like a huge thing. It's like, I mean, I watched it again. I swore I'd never, because I couldn't stand hearing another idiot, like, not unfunny human in my life make a fucking Borat joke again. I never had.
Very nice.
Ending. Like, it was like, finally, okay, because it was funny the first time, but y'all killed it. It's one of them.
Did you see that Borat subsequent movie film, Daz?
Yeah, great. Oh yeah.
Well, I view Sacha Baron Cohen in a traditional. I don't know if you know about British comedy, but British comedy is linked to John Dee and also British intelligence, and I think even the tarot. And how I'll explain it is, it's all about teaching these very upper class educated young men in very posh high schools, and then it goes on to university, notably Oxford. And there is a theatre school, I think, called Footlights, I believe. And anyone who becomes a major politician or a major entertainer has to go through that actual route. So what they've learned is that if you play the fool, people then don't feel threatened, but then you can, like, manipulate them, and also within politics, but also in culture creation. And that's what I believe Sacha Baron Cohen is, because when he speaks, it's like he's the head of Amazon.
Right.
It's like heavy intellectual, like really, really deep intellectual. And the one who was the odd man out is one called Chris Morris, who done a fabulous series. It's available on YouTube, called Brass Eye. And he also done a comedy around suicide bombers called Three Kings.
Huh.
And most recently, he's done one about how the FBI actually set up people as patsies.
Oh yeah, they do that all the time.
To be terrorists, and then take the praise for apprehending them. But Chris Morris has been somewhat he's like the Dave Chappelle of the United Kingdom. He was ostracized and he came out in a very heavy blotch of acne that looks like a birthmark. It's that extensive, a heavy weight
Like
loss,
like
and
what's his name from fucking the
Like
USSR.
he was drugged.
Gorbachev,
Gorbachev. I couldn't think of it.
yeah, like Gorbachev. So
Oh.
Chris Morris lost a lot of weight. He shocked the nation in 1998 or 99 with a hilarious parody on paedophilia, where he was skitting the mania of it within the tabloid press, but then exposing it
Right.
within popular culture and certain well-known individuals. So he is sort of being ostracized, like Dave Chappelle. Like Dave Chappelle is brought in, but then at the same time he's sort of out of it.
Well, they're out of it. Yeah, like their whole. Everybody realized they put them in a totally different box. Like you can't, like almost like an untouchable box. You put over here. That's how
I
Chappelle.
I remember Prince Charles when he was in college. He was sort of a goofball, and he was in theater, but he kind of played like that fool character. So I bet that's part of like the intelligence path. And the reason why I brought it up was because I watched the very end of that movie, and I didn't really talk to you guys about it last week, but Rudy Giuliani is President Trump's personal lawyer. He's a personal lawyer of the president, not like for everything, but
He's now his Cohen.
so the whole scandal right before that happened, Rudy Giuliani said that China made the coronavirus and they let it out. They got rid of it, and we all know that. And then they had that whole whatever happened, the whole thing that made the thing famous, and nobody's even paid attention to what Rudy Giuliani said. Is that maybe? I mean, what I would take from that is that Trump's cabinet and everybody there thinks that China did this on purpose, and that's sort of common knowledge with these guys. And he was letting her know that because he was going to hit on her. He's giving her some sweet info. So maybe there's going to be a big war with China that pops up. That
No, I don't think it is. I think what's happened is, speaking of the comedian and the fool,
yeah.
there's a comedian known as Bill Maher that has a show on HBO called Real Time.
Yeah.
And Bill Maher said, I believe in late 2019, the only way we can get him out, meaning Trump, is if we have a really bad economic crisis.
Precisely.
And he said, and people were shocked. People were like, that means unemployment, depression, suicide.
Yeah.
People living in tent cities, and look what happened.
Starvation.
Said.
Precisely.
Starvation's going to happen because of what happened last year.
I don't want to will that out.
So the fool, as in Bill Maher, prophesied on Real Time what happened.
He's a comedian, Bill Maher. Yeah.
There we go. So
and he knows the inner circle, like he's running the same circles as Trump.
Like
women.
Kanye running for president. He's the fool, Kanye. Jumping into the race. What does that change? He's trying to take the spotlight
They're just fucking
as the fool. But they're all three fools. I mean, I love Kanye, don't get me wrong.
Dude, Jesus is one of the greatest records of all time.
Yeah.
That's one of the greatest records ever. And I listen to a lot of fucking music. That is one of the best fucking hip hop records. That's one of the best records, period.
But
so let's have a conversation about where we think the rest of the year will go to. I believe it's going to be some sort of extraterrestrial event.
Oh, Project Bluebeam.
Well, it could be that, but it could also be, in a brief way. Have you heard of the theory of Henry Kissinger and aliens?
Oh no,
They're not linked here. Not our.
Basically, Roswell happens, and the little fellas with the massive big heads are really cagey, and they're playing games with the best interrogators that the United States has. and they're actually playing games on them. So somebody says, wait there's a kid, I think in Princeton, called Kissinger, and he's sort of a bit like these aliens. So they're like, all right, bring him in. So Kissinger comes in and he starts talking to them. Now, Kissinger had created the beginning of something called realpolitik. And what that basically means is that it's not about morality, it's just about agreements. So it doesn't matter how heinous or inhumane the person you're making a deal with, as long as you get the deal that is mutually beneficial. So he then, with realpolitik, used that on these aliens. They were sort of impressed by his intellect
What?
and also his lack of emotion. And then what they did, they announced that because they were using atomic bombs, it was causing rips through dimensions, through the space-time continuum. And ultimately, if we as these cavemen with these super weapons were continuously testing them, it would destroy their and interrupt their runnings, their civilization. So what they did was they made Kissinger their ambassador on Earth. And basically, he is the manager of the planet because he is the only man that can visit the Kremlin, the Vatican, Buckingham Palace, and the White House within the same month and
Yeah.
have that access.
Remember when he just showed up
Yeah.
at the White House out of nowhere? Do you guys remember that? And Donald Trump, they like the press went in and it was like, it's fucking Henry Kissinger.
Yeah,
And,
that's
like,
true.
There. I remember that like yesterday.
I think if you did want an ambassador like that, you'd want him to look like a goblin. So that
Yeah.
makes sense.
That's fluid in the tongue.
So
And the scary
Dennis
thing-
Rodman did all that stuff, except for they made him wait for 30 days after he came back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
And the scary thing is, Kissinger's chosen protege is Bill Gates. And the reason I
Whoa.
believe this is Bill Gates is when Gates left Microsoft, I think either earlier this year or late last year, he stated that he was going to study anthropology. And everyone was like, why would a tech billionaire leave Microsoft, go back to college as an undergrad at that age and learn anthropology? Because obviously he has to know about how human beings think on a very basic level. So once Kissinger dies, he then can take over as an adequate thing. But the real weird, twisted notion of all of this is Henry Kissinger might be the ultimate anti-hero, because if he didn't have the techniques to negotiate with the aliens, we wouldn't be here. Humanity would have been wiped off. And also, they would have come with maybe more sterner rules. So because he's an expert negotiator, he's able to maybe make it more likable as a way of living, if this the way we live is likable. But the other thing you notice is everything in sci-fi is about, like Star Trek and other things, is about like one world systems and united Earth. And I think that is sort of programming for us to become this. So Kissinger is their ambassador. So we are slowly going into their way of thinking. So what like SB talks about coming scenarianism or whatever, I can't pronounce it.
I mean, vegetarianism.
That could be basically their way of living, and that could be the aliens' way of living. So we've got to basically do the levels, and once we reach the levels, and this is why the Pentagon is releasing stuff about aliens, because maybe now we've reached a certain level in our thinking, in the way we interact with each other, technology, where the aliens have gone, right, okay, they've reached the level now, so now let's release it slowly that we exist. Oh yeah, Henry Kissinger, the ultimate anti-hero.
Where are you getting this?
Just years of reading and trying to join dots and reading Kissinger's work, notably Memorandum 200, which is a declassified American document from the 1970s that was so explosive they tried to make it classified again. But your country thankfully has laws that state that once they declassify documents, they can't classify them again, because the judges hate the process and it just gets on the nerves. So the judges are like, once you decide this is out there, it's out there, because we can't be bothered going through freedom of information requests, and this particular charity or this task group or think tank, they want it in the public domain and you want it back in the private top secret domain. So the judges hate it in America, so that's why it's available, and you can get it as a PDF and read it, and that's basically Kissinger's psychology.
So that's crazy. I often like to look up people's names and their name meanings. And so I looked up Henry Kissinger. Well, Henry is English and French from a Germanic personal name composed blah, 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 blah. Haim, hem, home, power, ruler. So it's pretty much means ruler.
That's my last name, just by the way.
And Kissinger is, let's see, Kissinger is a last name in Bavaria. It was kissing in Bavaria. It was Kissingen in Franconia, and it means marsh or a swamp, or to make acid. So Henry Kissinger is the king of making acid, or the king of the swamp.
King of the swamp?
Yeah.
Swamp creature? Looks like a goblin? Come on.
Looks
people,
like
put
a
together.
goblin, yeah.
And what did Trump say? Drain the swamp?
Drain the
Yeah,
swamp.
he's going after Kissinger.
After you drain
There you
it, then the swamp monster comes out. Yeah.
This is Henry Kissinger. He's
Hey,
got the strangest.
Yeah, I'm doing not mine.
And the reason why, I think, to answer your question, David, how I knew all of this, it was actually due to my love of wrestling. And I used to be a fan of WWE. Now I've gone off that. I've gone to something called AEW.
Hey,
that's
that's
on.
who my buddy is that wrestles in that. You'll never believe it. I didn't even know until.
Pardon, say that again. Sorry.
You know who the Butcher is?
The Butcher and the Blade.
Yeah. Guess the Butcher is my boy, and the guitar player from
nice.
Every Time I Die.
Wow.
We should have him on the
he's
show. Yeah.
So he's your friend.
I remember hanging out with him, playing shows, whatever, years ago. I only talk to, I don't really frequently talk to him, but yeah, it's Andy from he's the guitarist Every Time I Die. We used to, dude, I've like, and then my other friend Andy's super close with them because I don't want to do it on YouTube.
I know.
It's just, yeah, it's funny.
Well, what I recommend, brother, is Chris Jericho is in AEW and he has a great podcast, Talk is Jericho. So I think you three should maybe either invite Jericho onto this like I am, and then Jericho could record the audio for his podcast, or you three individually could be future guests. But that could be an easy 6 degrees of separation. But Jericho is very interested. I think I've set him up with a couple of guests through. I've never talked to him, but I've set up, because I'm aggressive on Twitter and I'm on it. I set up, I think, AI SMQ, who is one of the most bizarre and brilliant researchers I think I've ever.
Yeah, I like SMQ.
I know him, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, out of he's like Northern California, I believe.
Yeah. So he's basically. I just told Jericho. I said, you need to get this guy. I said he is next level. He is on it. And then I tweeted SMQ, and then he got his followers to then tweet Jericho, and then that's how that happened.
We should have a conspiracy wrestling tournament, and have like tag team, and everybody puts their conspiracy theories in there, and then we debate.
Yeah, but a lot of the wrestlers are like into that, because I think they experience a world where you have to think out of the box to create a character. Like David's friend, the Butcher and the Blade, are basically
It's just
the
Andy. It's just Butcher. So
well,
that's
the tag team of Butcher
yeah,
and the Blade
they're
is
badass. They're like Legion of Doom cool. Like I was like, of course, this is the only character Andy could fucking be. Of course he's fucking this badass. Like, aren't they, dude? Like I don't like wrestling anymore. I'm 39, dude. Like I stopped in like early 2000. Now, like, I was like, that's a great gig. That's a great gig.
Well, it's a hobby of
Butcher and
kings.
Blade are like two like serial killers that are also like actual butchers.
Minder's badass, way cooler.
But they have this amazing manager who's this amazing hot blonde woman.
Mine is yep, it's perfect.
So it's really, but wrestlers have to think of these things out of the box.
Yep.
And they have to and so they're interested in mythology, and they're interested in history, and they're interested in conspiracy. So this is why wrestlers are very open. The reason why I like wrestling is I've never been to America. Hopefully one day, but I'm thinking of my 50th in a couple of years. But to me, wrestling is Americana personified. It's 1 minute brilliant, and the next minute really cheesy.
Yeah.
But then it's brilliant again.
It's a perfect model for politics. It's a fantastic theatrical show with like a lot of lies behind the scenes and a lot of polarizing, dramatic moments.
The Capitol building.
Controlled chaos.
Controlled chaos, and then there's somebody making money on the end, pulling all the strings. We don't see them.
And everybody's friends behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. Like I don't understand why are you allowing yourself? I get it. That's like when you get wrapped in, everybody gets roped into it again. It's the same. Like people go, dude. Remember when we did like wrestling? Remember how it's like a love-hate relationship we had with wrestling, when we even liked it because it was over silly shit, right? I can't remember what it was about because it was so stupid. You know what I mean? Like, therefore,
Yeah.
it's the same precise. Well, not precise, but it's the same scaffolding, essentially.
And I think there's something else within not only American psyche but human psyche, in that we're sort of attracted to violence, but we don't want to feel the consequences of it. And that's what wrestling is.
Yeah.
So you can see the wrestlers do these mad things, but if they'd done it for real, they'd be dead. Like an Undertaker tombstone. If you get that off a man that's 6'9",
Yeah.
you're dead.
Yeah.
Rap.
So it's sort of, it's very interesting. And now wrestling has become political because Andrew Yang, who's likely going to be the Minister of Labour under his Biden administration, has publicly come out and said that one of the first things he's going to do is go after Vince McMahon because of Vince McMahon's lack of cover for the wrestlers. And also Vince McMahon is deemed as President Trump's closest confidant.
Yeah, dude, Donald Trump is. I've put this on Twitter and all forms of social media. So I was hoping someone sees this, like, or pay a little bit more attention to this one post, and that's Donald Trump is in the fucking WWF, WWE, whatever, Hall of Fame. Like,
there's someone in his cabinet actually. She was
Stephanie McMahon.
No,
like,
Linda McMahon,
Linda McMahon,
Vince's wife.
She's the head of something.
Labor Department or something.
Small business.
Like
Small
that.
business. That was it.
Yeah, there you go. The
Yeah,
secretary.
no, he's in the WWE Hall of Fame, right? And
Well, the mayor of or the governor of Minnesota was.
Jesse Ventura, but he went the other way. Yeah, if you
He goes from military to wrestling to politics.
politics,
And then smoking weed in Mexico.
Yeah,
Right.
in Colorado and Mexico.
So he's been a reverse hippie. So he started in the military and ended
Exactly.
up in Mexico.
You got the reverse hippie going on for sure.
Hey,
Yeah, he's totally off
Predators.
the grid too.
He's hunting predators in the jungles and got his arms lopped off. Wait,
And
no.
he said the greatest line ever, which, well, you can't say it now because of political correctness, but he uses a certain term when they refuse to eat the tobacco on the actual flight. And they say, why do you do that? It's disgusting. And it says, it makes me into a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus.
what was that from?
Predator. But
Oh.
I can't say the other thing that he says
I don't even
because
know
that
what
is very unpolitically correct
say it.
nowadays.
We're not professional here. Oh no,
Yeah.
we're sorry, we're professional.
No, but the algorithm will get us.
Gotcha. Stupid bots.
Fucking
sorry,
bots. Know where they are? They're
Goddamn
everywhere.
botters.
So how did you guys get to know each other? What was the connection that you guys got to know each other? Because I know Jim through the wonderful RX Only Picture Show that I wouldn't like often contribute on. So that's how we know each other. But how did you guys get to know each other?
It was like mostly sexual, right? Back page, something like that. Like we were just jerking each other off. Wait, that was some other podcast. No.
You are a sexual tyrannosaurus.
Tyrannosaurus. Dinosaurs don't exist. Dinosaur bones aren't real.
It was just also on Twitter. I think that's how we met. You know?
Yeah, we just literally, it's the same thing. Like, we
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, I think
You know,
I think through Tracy Twyman ultimately because
yeah, I think, no, yeah, you're right. Because I honestly believe, yeah, Tracy Twyman did all this. Like, she's, like, there's responsibility totally for, because it's a weird, like, I feel like I've known these two for a long ass time. Like a weird, you know what I mean? Kind of just a weird, but it's all, that's what just like, all right, let's do this. Like whatever.
Orthogonal time, right? So time doesn't exist. So
What, yeah.
we're doing this right now in ancient Rome.
it's
So we're just sitting in a coliseum, just like talking about how shitty it is.
Like I said, it's a bad week to quit amphetamines. Like, I was thinking about that.
So that's like the David Icke theory that we're all the same consciousness but experiencing
100%.
at different angles.
that's why
Yeah.
boxing is so compelling because we're both sides of it as we watch.
That's so cool. Yes, it is a binary kind of thing. It feels like that, but it's like I don't know, it's a weird.
So the entity is both Khabib and Conor McGregor.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
Oh,
us,
well, and you have to own. You kind of have to.
the observer.
You have to, exactly. Yeah. So that makes the third. It's like a tritone. You're gonna go there now.
So I said my thing, sorry, going back to my original point, my thing is alien, some sort of obvious disclosure, but
they're gonna use that. But you.
So
wait,
will it be like
I don't know if I even buy the space narrative though. That's my thing. It just feels like that's part of like a weird, running thing along with the narrative of like dinosaurs. Like I'd put them in a box very similar, because I feel like they're linked in the manner of it was pushed upon us when we were kids.
and there's big lies that are associated with them
Yeah, big, like the whole Nazi shit behind NASA and the whole thing.
and occult
Just-
shit.
Exactly. There's just too much running in conjunction here and then looking back and being like, what are these hidden hands that somehow get revealed, or someone's purposely revealing them?
The revelation of the method. They've been
It's like-
since like 2016. It's been happening.
Been
At least
going
I've
but-
noticed.
and at this pace, and it could be because of the internet connecting all of us in some way. So it's almost like the whole thing got linked up in some way.
Yeah.
It just feels like,
The internet might be an alien god
yeah,
that's
like,
connecting us to
Yeah.
gain consciousness of it. Mm-mm.
Well, once a secret becomes too hard to keep, then you have to tell everybody that it's a secret, and you'll be like, it's such a secret that you won't believe it, and then people are like, oh no, that's just a fake secret.
It feels like that. It feels like that, but I don't know if that's what it is. But that's definitely what I'm sensing, and I don't feel like my senses are wrong too often when it comes to this kind of thing. But hey,
Well,
like
they are playing with the whole disclosure thing. You know, with Tom DeLonge and Tom DeLonge.
The Fool.
DeLonge? Yes. Podesta, Lavenda. I mean,
okay.
Remember Communion? The book Whitley Strieber, and then the anal probing is in there. So like it just makes it a ridicule.
It's traumatizing book reading. That's another form of like if we are going to go with this model and the way this modality, so to speak, of like brainwashing kind of technique. You get that right there when you read those lines in Communion. It's 1985, 86, and you can't erase that now. That's why that became such a meme. That was one of the first like memes kind of thing.
So like when you're like, I heard something like, and I totally
movie afterward.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
I'm saying like anal probe was like one of the first, not first real memes, but it was a meme.
South Park made it funny.
Yeah. Or Independence Day. Remember Randy Quaid?
Yeah. I love Randy Quaid.
Right.
And he was another interesting guy because he then said there was some sort of combination of cult meeting the mafia that runs Hollywood, and he was allowed sanctuary legally in Canada. So for him to actually be granted that and eventual citizenship,
there's something to it.
Proven right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, there's an excellent article in Vanity Fair that's available online that is very in depth about his allegations, and he don't ridicule him, and he talks about how Hollywood works. He even alleges, I believe, his brother Randy, or Dennis Quaid, sorry.
Dennis,
He tried to betray him for money and fame, almost as a sacrifice. But he doesn't say it in them terms. But if you hear what he's saying, well, I could have died, and my brother then would have benefited from that death through royalties. So as I say, there's all types of bizarre things. But the thing that got me was last year Avengers Endgame, where I was watching it in the cinema, and I was like, why are they trying to explain a new type of fractal time travel? Like, wait there. And they kept ridiculing Back to the Future. Oh no, that's not time travel. Time travel doesn't work like that. So basically what they're saying is time starts like this, but like a tree, if you create a new timeline, you can create a new branch, and then from that branch comes other branches. So basically you actually create multiple timelines now and multiple dimensions. But it was interesting that was in the film, and in the film was obviously called Endgame, and it was about a eugenicist that was an anti-hero, and then look what happens like a year later. So I don't know if they were trying to explain stuff to us in that, but that whole time travel thing was just like, they've obviously gone to physicists and they've said, how can we explain time travel in a pop culture narrative? And it was just like so brilliantly put together that like Captain America did his job, but then lived with his love of his life back in the 1920s or 1940s and lived a complete life without having to interrupt their timeline. So it was very interesting how that put together, but they kept on dismissing Back to the Future. And what was ironic was I was part of a Back to the Future YouTube video that got millions of views. A guy called Joe Alexander was looking at various sinks in Back to the Future, and I was one of the contributing researchers to that. So it was sort of like, wait there, are they throwing shade on this? Wait there, I love Back to the Future. But we were looking at things with synchronicity and Twin Tower symbolism and other things, but they kept getting at Back to the Future. in Endgame. It was really interesting. Like, do not believe in that, kids. Believe in what we're telling you. So maybe I say other things might happen where Alexander the Great might return, or Ramses the Second, or things like this.
Well, like Trump shows up in the Back to the Future movies, you know, as Biff Tannen. Like, and they say they modeled that character on him, like,
Yeah.
and then Trump shows up in the book, you know, the Ingersoll Rand books
Yeah.
about time travel.
Another
So,
level.
and then some people say that Trump was that internet, that 4chan time traveler named John
John,
Teeter. Yeah.
Donald Trump's a time traveler.
that's what that's the,
Yeah.
that's the theory.
Wait, are you?
There is actually there's something to it,
Not
a little bit.
There's. I don't
Here,
mean.
Can I throw you one thing no one's talked about that that he might be a time traveler?
Go.
Okay, so I wish I had the article up, but if you go look, you can find it. He bought this weird obscure property that's like out in the middle of nowhere in Florida, and it's just like and he pays the taxes on it every time he had to. And when he bought it from the people, like there was like, oh, okay, it's like a shit piece of land, it's like in the swamp, basically. But he's always makes sure it's there and it's paid for. And my theory is it's so he can have a constant in the time traveling, so he knows that nothing builds there.
Because
So
it's
if he has to
swamp.
It's a swamp region. See what I'm saying? I'm just saying
Or there's bodies there. If
that could be
if,
everything he's doing.
if you own a property with bodies on it, you're gonna want to keep it forever, so nobody
Yeah, but
goes.
there's that Crystal Cove in Florida, and that's weird as anything.
Yeah.
The Crystal Cove.
Yeah, no,
Is that near? St. Augustine?
What's
That's a weird.
what's the Crystal Cove?
Oh God, here we go. Basically, it's this little Estonian man who comes to America.
Oh, Castle.
because- yeah.
Leeds, Stalin.
That little castle.
Was
doesn't
it
build that
Lee-
now?
Castle.
Was it
What am I called?
Wait, guys, are we all really confused and like?
Wait.
Coral Castle?
Are we talking about that?
Yeah, Edward Leeds Scallion.
Designed like a whole neighborhood, right, guys? That's that guy.
I think just a castle or
Castle.
a couple.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a weird thing.
I wonder if Trump owns property, what you're saying, near to that place.
I'm gonna check to see if I can find it.
Interesting.
It's very weird though. Like it's just like weird that he has his just property on the middle of nowhere, not developed. He's not worth anything. It's odd.
Yeah.
Because he's a prime capitalist. Once he buys something, he acts on it. If he had oil or gas, he would exploit it because he's a prime capitalist. I was reading in Zero Hedge that he owns Deutsche Bank, millions in loans on personal loans, and if he doesn't pay up, he will take a couple of golf courses and hotels. So if that land was valuable, he would exploit it to bring money in to pay off the loan.
Yeah.
So there has to be something more to it.
He's not sentimental. He's not keeping it because it was someplace he went when he was a kid and he has fond memories. He's keeping it because he's got either some sort of benefit, a financial gain out of it down the road, you know, or some.
Or some time. I like that constant idea. So
Yeah.
everything else changes, but that doesn't. And
Yeah.
that's like his wormhole, would you say?
Exactly. So he keeps it in the family. That thing's like locked down. It's like never build anything here. It's here. Just possibly. I mean, I don't know. Why else? I mean, this is where we're at now. 2020 is so fucking strange. We can actually ponder the idea that time travel is in play. I mean, aliens.
I've
And
heard.
then he said,
Play.
and then he said something weird in Ohio at a whirlpool factory, and he said in a speech around like American industry bringing it back, he said that I've made a lot of very powerful people angry and unhappy, and you might not see me for a long time. And everyone was like, well, if you're on the presidential election run, how can you suddenly not be seen? You've got to go to rallies, you've got to do interviews. the president's running for a second term. How can you say publicly that you might not see me for a long time? So maybe that's time travel. Maybe that's what he means. Like I'm just going to.
Yeah, and that John Teeter thing, he would pretend to be his own publicist and would use that name. So that's very weird.
And his uncle was John, who is his middle name is John, named after the uncle that got to look in Tesla's secret lockbox after he died. John Teeter, or not Teeter, John Trump was allowed to go.
He was the one
through it.
And it's literally like it's so fucking perfectly written for the history books, and then you go to research it, and you're just like, of course this is real.
They say that the FBI brought him, but they were afraid it was booby trapped with a bomb, so they hid behind some iron or some stone pillars in the hotel.
The documents, like who's read these? Where's John Brisson? No, where for real though? Where is there documentation of this that's been publicly released that we can verify this shit? And I don't want to even go Snopes on anything. I won't. But I'm just curious.
Supposedly there's army documents from when after he died, they went and confiscated everything because they thought it was the alien, the Department of Alien. Yeah, but not space alien. You know, like a person from another country is an alien. Is it Department of Alien Affairs or something like that? Was what confiscated all of his stuff, and so that's.
Well, I've got something for you that I discovered via the United Nations in Africa, and if I can get it, I screen grabbed it, and you won't believe what that's called.
What?
And I was like, what is going on? But let me see, I've just got to go scroll through my vast amounts of footage. And
while you're doing that, Darren, it's weird to think about too, because alright, so I'm thinking about it because it's like a different like from another country, from a foreign country. So I got this document I printed out on the internet, and I'm pretty sure I printed it. It saved as a PDF because I felt like I didn't know where this was gonna go. But it's Terry in the chat, Web Chow. If you're still there, you know what I'm talking about with this interview with Tesla. Yeah, I had to translate it from Spanish to English, or it was translated already when I got it from Spanish to English, because I think I would have been able to do a better job. But it's from an 18. Remember, didn't I read some of that on the show with you guys?
What was it?
99. That document. That was an interview with Tesla with a Spanish journalist that it got translated, and it felt like it wasn't supposed to be on the internet. Terry, if you're still listening or watching or whatever, dude, type the name in the chat. I've got the folder here. I put it in the manila.
What did he say?
I've just sent it to you, David, in your DM, and you can read it out. I just want to see your reaction to this photo. Just watch David's reaction when he reads out this thing that I've just sent him in his DM.
Can you share? Yeah, share it with us on the screen.
Also, if you look in the chat, I put in the article Innocent Sebring that he has.
This is
All I will say is, before he reveals it, if we see the Silver Surfer, we've got to go to church and atone for our sins. That's all I'm saying.
God, dude, where did you? Well, hold on, I'll reveal this. Should I just? Yeah, I'm just.
I think you got to reveal. If you can reveal it on screen, if not, just yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go.
But it is worth the wait, people.
Oh yeah.
That land I was telling you about, it's in Sebring. And it's called the City of the Circle. Ooh. Or the City on the Circle. But yeah, it's weird. Oh, I can see you.
Okay, so where did we get this? Where was this obtained?
This was obtained around a conversation that I believe was with various British military personnel all over the
Multidimensional
world with the Queen earlier this year, because I think it was the 75th anniversary of Normandy, Omaha Beach, and all of that. So this man we're looking at is a senior man within the British military that is being seconded to the United Nations. And what his actual department is rather an interesting title.
It looks like the background letters and his face have the same amount of distortion. Like it was like somebody might have changed something and then put a filter on it.
It's just my poor quality of.
Or is it a screen grab?
Screen grab.
Oh, okay.
But I took it as, what happens if it's literal?
Yeah, seriously. Oh. Multidimensional, like maybe levels of something integrated. So there's many dimensions to their integrated stabilization.
So what happens if in that particular West African country, that is wormhole central, and certain things are popping out, and they've basically got to defend us from it. So they are basically stabilizing the multi-dimensions that are within Mali.
This sounds like Flesh Interface. You ever read that series?
No.
Oh, if you go, so it's really awesome. It's actually probably where the Stranger Things guys got some ideas. Someone put anonymously this series on Reddit called the Flesh Interface, and it's just like small stories about like portals opening up like through different, like there's like Vietnam stories and whatnot, but like it's like a portal actually made out of flesh.
Wow.
And it's fucking crazy.
It's an alchemical thing.
Yeah, and like if you go into it, you go insane. It's like kind of like H.P. Lovecraft-esque in some ways, but yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
So like we're in the age again of like the anti-hero. So this man might have to do some really serious stuff on a dark level, but because he does that, we can enjoy this conversation now, because we haven't got alien invaders coming, or interdimensional invaders wiping out humanity. So it's a very strange thing. And the other thing that was very powerful for me, I think it was around the same time when this happened, was the HBO miniseries Watchmen.
Yes.
I wasn't expecting it to be that good and that powerful in terms of its emotional thing on the human condition. And then also, because I'm of mixed heritage, I've got black heritage, that then really was powerful and authentic to me, where sometimes when they present racial dynamics, it's cheesy and it doesn't connect. But this was excellent. And then the other thing that got me was how Dr. Manhattan explained about time and about his powers and his limitations, and how it made time and man could become God. And then if man did become God, what risks would that be? Well, that was very interesting and powerful, and I wasn't expecting it to be like that good, really. I thought I was going to be disappointed. But the unusual thing about that was they've told HBO that all the actors, the director, the writer, we're not doing a second season. It's a mini season, that's it. Which is really unusual for like Hollywood, for American entertainment. Like Tom Cruise is in the UK at the moment filming Mission Impossible 7. So it shows you how unusual that was. That's gone against the grain of Hollywood. So all of these things were happening at that time. I got that image. But when I seen what it was, I was just like, wait there, that is a bit of a mouthful. Why couldn't you have just called it an anagram with the UN symbol, and you would have been none the wiser? But why have you called it like an interdimensional stabilization?
Disclosure, soft disclosure.
Joke. Like it's almost feels like, do you know what I mean? It just doesn't feel. It's almost too. It's like, it's what it reminds me of the Elon Musk quote where he's like, it's so fake, it's real. Like, or it looks so fake because it's real.
Yeah, I just don't want to see the Silver Surfer flying over Liverpool.
Right?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because wherever the Silver Surfer is, Galactus is nearby.
Yeah.
So I don't want that.
Yeah.
Nope.
I've noticed that same theme in a lot of. I love sci-fi, and like there's all this sort of gateway sort of sci-fi, time traveling, sort of like particle accelerator stuff, and it's like I think a lot of time travel. They're like really pushing it. Like they actually might be doing it, and they're telling us about it. Soft disclosure because they have another set of codes that they have to go by, and part of it's, you tell people what's going on. You have to tell, they're legally responsible.
Another scary speculation I have is that once they do what you're saying, Jim, with time travel,
Yeah.
what they'll do is they'll get rid of us and they'll make a new reality of the All-Stars. So that'll be like Cleopatra, Caesar, Napoleon Bonaparte, Albert Einstein, and it'll be like a new Earth, but it'll be all those famous people.
Yeah, like The Wrath of Khan. Remember the Star Trek movie?
Yeah,
They like
but everyone
engineered these.
Peak.
Yeah.
So you'll get Mark Twain when he would have been writing Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah.
You'll get John Coltrane after making Love Supreme.
So do you think they would clone them and then they'd be like babies that would grow up, or could they just make them?
No, I think what they'll do is like based on the Endgame time fractal theory. If that's the revelation of the method, they'll just go and get Enzo Ferrari when he was at the peak of his powers making Ferrari cars and say, right, we're getting you. They'll get Van Gogh after he's done Starry Night or Sunflowers. We'll get you.
Whoa!
Leonardo da Vinci
Whoa.
after.
Do you think they take them when they're 27 years old?
Yeah, at the peak of the powers, at the real peak of the powers.
Like all these famous people die right at the peak of their fucking powers throughout past. Maybe they go back in time and grab them, and now they're in this plus ultra super secret society.
Up in Tomorrowland, yeah, exactly.
So Amy Winehouse,
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix, Bruce Lee, all of these.
There was a
people.
movie about that with Mick Jagger, I think, and some
performance.
It was like this guy. I think it was. I don't remember. Shoot, it was like Tom Cruise or some leading guy who was a race car driver, and he.
I was gonna say it's the race car driver.
Who? Do you remember who that was?
That's something Thunder.
It was dude. It was what's his name?
So like he crashes his race car, and the minute before he dies, they grab him from the future, and they pluck him out, and they take him to the future, where I forget what happens.
I think we think of two different movies put together.
Really?
I think so, but because Tom Cruise was in a movie where he played a race car driver. I don't remember time travel or anything.
Maybe I don't know if it was Tom Cruise, but there was a guy that was a rock star, and I think it was like Mick Jagger, and he's like sort of
all right.
a cop from the future, like a detective.
Was it Time Cop? Is that the one?
Awesome.
Gosh, I don't remember. But it was like it seems super plausible. If they had time travel, they could grab these people out, and it was.
You can't do many movies. We'll find out.
And then you create like this super new Atlantis civilization.
Yeah. You're thinking Free Jack, I think.
Free Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. Free Jack.
Yep.
I need to watch that again because I only watched that when I was a kid.
Emilio Estevez. That's your.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on, dude.
So then you get like this great civilization that's got high tech
and smart people.
It's in abundance, and then you've got like Stevie Ray Vaughan, like jamming with John Coltrane, and then Albert Einstein talking with Leonardo da Vinci,
and Leonardo DiCaprio,
and Plato is talking to JFK. Things like that, so you just get this all-star cast, and that's basically the new humanity. And then with
Tupac,
cloning,
Tupac.
That, so you just get like the best of like the best, and I think maybe that's what they would love to do. CERN, maybe because that's maybe why CERN has got all these elite scientists, because it's based on like this snobbery, and then they're all influenced by Ayn Rand, and all Ayn Rand is about is if you're a high level elite creative, then you've got to just leave the trash.
Yeah, and
So,
and they burn their
question-
they torch their life first.
Oh,
Is-
bye.
I got a question about this. Is Jeffrey Epstein there?
Yeah, I absolutely would be. Yeah.
His textbook was awful. No,
I
he's
just-
terrible. He was just a front sales. Dude, they were terrible. If you
It's a
read,
gag. It's a gag, dude.
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious, dude. It's all just clickbait like shit. When computer coders read what, like, dig into like his documents, like what he actually wrote, you could tell he wrote most of the stuff himself, because a coder wouldn't write, like, you know what I mean? It's so like, it's to sell. It's basically just a sales pitch type thing. That's all he could do.
Just like Greg Raniere or Jeff
He knew nothing.
the
Keith?
Yeah, the Nexium guy. If you have an IQ of 240, you're gonna start a pyramid company, or you know.
And another example of this supposed all-star civilization is a podcast I go on called Operation GCD. Its host JJ stated that Stephen Hawking, the respected physicist, was the person who lived the longest with Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah.
And when you look at the life expectancy of Lou Gehrig's disease, once it's diagnosed, you've basically got 8 to 10 years to live. Stephen Hawking's lived with this for near 50 or 60 years. So that is impossible. If you've got Lou Gehrig's disease, you couldn't live to that longevity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They got the perfect deal with him, because they have an Einstein, you know, like the smartest man in the world. Everybody's going to listen to what he says. And they can just have a quiet guy in a chair with a little box that somebody can talk into a microphone.
All of his nurses, that fucking prick. I don't know. You guys know about
Like his
that.
teeth changed too.
Disgusting.
He liked being on Epstein's island as well.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Yeah,
He was multiple people.
That's why they had a wheelchair ramp up to the temple.
Let's fuck. No offense to quadriplegics. Just.
Why did you even have to say it?
The algorithm.
Yeah. No,
shoot from the hip, man. Always. Pow.
no offense to astrophysicists, but
Yeah, no offense to for quadriplegics. Okay.
Or autistics. Oh wait.
So I'm really surprised, because I've had no alcohol or stimulants, and it's now 5:59 a.m. and I'm feeling like I'm firing on all cylinders. So it's great company. This is what it is. Great company. Steel sharpens steel, as they say.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Dude,
man.
we're all.
to clean living. Cheers.
Yeah, hilarious.
Well, I was doing some cocaine off the screen, but that I feel the same. We're
I just
flying.
took all that Adderall when I was.
No, but I appreciate that. Yeah.
So,
no, this,
well, one of the things I'm going to do, guys, is I was once told by a very elderly person some real strange advice. Like, I was 14 years old, and it was my very first job, and I was delivering milk in my local area on a milk float, and there's a lot of old people's homes where I live. So this old person, it was sort of like a Master Yoda moment. And I remember going on the Saturday where we would collect the money for the milk for the week, and it must have been about 1 p.m. And it was the longest day, because you had to not only deliver the milk but get the money. And this one man, after I got the money, he says, "I want to give you some advice." And I was like, "What?" He said, "The art of leaving the party is knowing when to leave." And I was like, "What do you mean by that?" He says, "If you leave too early, then you miss all the good stuff. But if you stay too late, all the staff will be looking at you because they want to go home. So learn to leave the party at the right time." And it was like, that just went in somewhere. And it was like as crystal as I'm saying it now. I'm back there when he said it. So that's one of the things that I always do. I never overstay my welcome. When I feel it's time to leave, I leave. But one of the things I'd like to suggest, because I really enjoyed this experience, is I'm currently watching something called Raised with Wolves,
Oh yeah.
and that has got loads of stuff. I wish Tracy
Yeah.
was here
Seriously.
because one of the groups is a follower of Mithras, and she done loads of work on that. And then there's all types of themes going in with it. It's one of the most spectacular series I've
We
ever
should
seen.
discuss it.
Scott's behind it.
We should discuss it on it and do a show about it. Because I definitely
That's
watched it, and I want to watch it again just because I want to write down some things that I saw.
Yeah, there's so much. So I would welcome if you, David, and you guys,
Yeah, I'll watch.
if you would welcome me back in
Yeah.
a couple of weeks,
It,
Of course,
and we
man.
could talk about Raised with Wolves.
it actually got me into looking at more of Ridley Scott's work. And, you know, he did the Aliens,
Prometheus too.
Prometheus, yeah. And I'm looking at it with new eyes now, and I'm going, oh, man. So
There you
much.
go. Well, anyway, guys,
Yeah.
I must depart. Thank you for having me. Thank you, chat room, for listening to my strange accent.
Thanks for
And,
coming.
And if you want to get me, I'm on Twitter. It's Daz Alt Fairy. That's fairy as in science, not as in Tinkerbell. So thank you very much. Bye bye.
Cool. Yeah, bye. Thank you, Daz.
All right, Des. Cheers, man.
If you want to reach me on Twitter, I'm at Jim23Maiden. And what are your guys' Twitters?
B-double-O F-H-U-S. Wait, no, I'm spelling it wrong. I don't even know how to spell it.
Booseephus.
WPHUS.
Booseephus.
Yeah, because I see with my eyes and my third nipple.
Mine only froze like the rest of them.
Well, like I was gonna after Des, he said that I almost was like, well, I want to do an Irish goodbye and just fucking leave.
Right? He totally what to do. I was like, where is he
Not
going?
say anything.
He just bounced. So we gotta do some backwards like Yo just gave the Twitter handle. Like we're signing off the air right now. Like we're about to just bounce. Are we? We should end it. No, how long have we been going? I have a 3-hour 48-minute counter on my clock. I'm curious to know how long we've been going.
I think we've been on since 7, right? Or 3 hours?
We're at 3 hours.
Maybe. I don't know what time we came on for sure. Let me see. Ooh.
Oh, okay.
I'm probably ready to hit the road though.
Yeah, we can kill it.
You guys can stay on if you want.
Well, you guys, I got my book back with the tarot spread. That's like the good tarot spread. It's like a 7-card spread, and it's easy because I couldn't remember what the 3 points meant precisely.
Should we do one reading before we go? Or before I go?
I think, yeah. Well, we'll just do it and we'll end it. Unless everybody's got to go. But I mean,
yeah, I'll stick around for this. For sure.
all right. So what we're gonna do right now, Jim? Do you have a way? I can. Never mind. I got it, guys. Last time we got some dumb thing from some band that had an issue, so I'll put this on because I don't think we'll be fine. Greg, it handed me some nonsense on YouTube that said
I remember you said it was my fault. I think I accidentally
it's
played
fine.
something. Because you said something about being a wizard, and I was trying playing as.
yeah, yeah, it's fine.
I was like, we can't. This no one even knows who this band is. They should be like fucking happy. It's free advertisement.
I know, right?
It was like from the 70s too.
Yeah,
Fucking,
it was 1978.
the guy is like on heroin right now. He's like, God damn it, I just want my quarter.
That's pretty good.
Come on. Free advertisement. I don't get it. Also, it was probably just a smear job because
Y'all hear that?
I hear something.
Alright. You hear that? Yeah. Jam, you hear it?
Yeah.
Alright, just making sure. Okay. Alright, so I am going to find this now. And we gonna do a tarot reading?
I think it's called Tarot.
Tarot?
Tarot.
Yeah, we gonna do that.
Oh, touche. Oh, tarot. That's all she wrote. Tarot.
Can I say something though, so to get off my chest? Because like my wife was annoyed by me since
Yeah.
you guys are here to listen to me for like a second.
Yep.
I am very annoyed for not the reasons why people would think about today. It's not, you know what I mean? I mean, we all know. But my big thing is that we have a bunch of people who are just all of a sudden like, well, it's all done. Let's go back to like just not paying attention to anything.
Yo, did
You know,
you
we
see
have-
that rock and roll shows are coming back? Go ahead.
Well, okay, well, obviously, I mean,
Sorry.
now Daddy Global has had a few drinks in him. He's like, okay, I'll listen. I'll loosen up a bit. It's, but
That's
Yeah,
exactly
like-
what's going on. Like, it's like, okay, I'm done with this crackdown.
yeah. Like COVID just not happening right now until the second lockdown, and then they're gonna be like, oh, it's really serious. We got to build back better. They're not very inventive, but I'm just more mad at people that appear to be very intelligent. I'm not like gonna call anyone out, and it's just like they just obfuscate their responsibility to like think. They're like, well, now he's in there. It's all fine. So all the horrors and crimes and all the other shit, I'm not even gonna pay attention to because he worked with the black guy. That's all they're saying. And that's the other thing that's irritating about it because they're like, well, Obama's the greatest. I'm like, well, he started 7 more wars and bombed more poor people than anyone else. I mean, I know I'm ranting.
No.
Just frustrating as fuck.
Wow.
I see people I like respect and they're just being like total fucking dickheads. Anyways,
Yeah.
Do you think just to be... See, I experienced this as well, but it's either someone just trying to be a dickhead because they feel the need to shove something in my face. It's usually, but it's not personal, but it's like kind of like a, that kind of stick it to you, or do you think it's like more of a just general air of this is who this person really is, and this is how they really are.
People
Kinda
think
like-
people think they need to shove their reality down your throat.
For
yeah.
sure.
But this thing, they're doing the stupid football thing with this game. They're like, red versus blue, Coke versus Peppy. Oh, my team working.
But dude, we just had
We're all being fucked. Always.
bro, like they weren't gonna. Okay, so I only know this because I know this. But the I already stopped watching football in 2017, 2016 or something. The Packers. The other night, I was listening to, the main station or whatever that airs, all those games, right? All the sports teams, and that's normally throughout the day. It's got like pretty much Republican, but it's not. It's like probably the left. They don't have Rush Limbaugh, but we have like local. You know what I mean? Okay, so it's pretty center left. I'll leave it at that. For talk radio, and they said the Packers were playing the 49ers, and it was a Thursday night game. It's just the other night, and a bunch of players had COVID. And earlier in the week, they didn't think like on Monday. They were like, "Nah, this game's probably gonna be canceled because these many people have COVID." Blah blah blah. Then all of a sudden, on Thursday rolls around, and I was listening just to see if they'd picked a winner yet or decided to. Joe Biden, are they gonna announce it? What are they doing? And they came out and were like, with this many players having COVID, but it doesn't matter, the Packers are playing, and then I didn't watch it, and I'm doing something else, and I get a bunch of updates like, Aaron Rodgers is on fire, 4 touchdowns, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I don't care. But I'm only saying that because I just witnessed and remember that for some reason. So, like, they're not giving a so before Tuesday, they weren't going to play the game, right? And then Thursday comes around, everybody's had election day. Everybody's like, it's weird and it's kind of like a messed up torture in its own little right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but we don't play the game, so we don't care. We're just laughing kind of at it, pointing at it. When we all know, we know that there's something weird. There's a whole bunch of fuckery going on that we have no idea what it is, but we know it's going down. Whatever it is going down, then going down, and it's in like full gear almost. So it's almost like the current of energy that goes with that. Do you know what I mean? It's like that whole thing like picks up and just carries and just whatever. So it's like those people that, because I participated in it and I tapped into it on Tuesday night with John Briston and Jeremy Roth Kushel. I don't know if you not pronounce it that way. The permaculture writer, he's coming on next weekend. By the way,
Who?
I guess is
Who's that?
Jeremy Ruth Kushel. He's a permaculture writer. He's brilliant.
I love permaculture.
Investigator.
Is he the guy that advocates stills making
His last
alcohol
name is spelled R-U-T-H-E,
for fuel?
and then it's dash K-U-S-H-E-L.
That's legit. I want to learn how to make fuel because I think they're gonna take away. I was like, we need to have vehicles that can run off.
So here, dude,
They used to make tractors would run on ethanol, so that you could use your grass clippings and make alcohol out of it to drive your mower.
Well, there was like something on the market where there's gonna be a fuel flex where you can just put it on your car and it'll turn ethanol. Your car to run on ethanol, so it doesn't like fuck up the computer and make it think it's
called
running too rich or whatever.
It's called Mr. Fusion from Back to the Future.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I'm just very. And here's the other thing. So he like does a whole speech in front of the fucking Chase Bank Center. I mean, I don't know how much more he's singling. He's like, so here's this for the banks. So I'm gonna start more wars.
I didn't watch that. I didn't watch it. Is that what's going on while we're doing the show?
Yeah, I think we're on this show maybe when it started, or maybe no. I don't know if you were, but it was.
Should we? Hey, do we have footage? Can you?
I could.
I could do it. Wait, we can do.
Yeah,
I have my audio set, Jim, to where you guys can hear anything, because that's how the board works. So my new board. So I can do this if you want. We can go onto YouTube and watch it.
Sure.
And watch it.
I would just like watch a few minutes of it, not the whole thing.
I don't know what's going on, but I know we.
Yeah.
Can,
So what happened?
One thing he does, he slips and says 200 million people die from COVID again, and then he like
again.
Yeah, and he quickly goes, oh no, I mean 1,000. Here's my concern. He's actually speaking the truth right there, and he's thinking ahead of he's fucking up the plan, which is to kill 200 million people. You know what I mean?
So I'm gonna play it. Here we go. Which CNN or CBS News? CBS News. I'm not gonna play the other one.
Yeah, it's
okay. So here we go. This is.
Hey guys, not sure if you've heard, but if you don't have speeding tickets, you don't have.
I haven't heard. Have you heard?
You can get your car insurance.
Oh, I was like, who the fuck's this guy?
Your zip code,
All right.
answer these questions, and start saving.
Look at this douche. Shut up. Okay. Here's another douche.
All right. So this is CBS's coverage of the election.
They got them all fucking jacked up on all kinds of drugs right now.
What? He's no.
But he's on antipsychotics for sure.
You dance with who brought you?
Some speed.
Yeah. Oh, his face looks. He looks dementia, like the muscle relaxation in his face.
Is that Ruth Ann? Is that Ruth Ann?
Most importantly, my sisters-in-law, my sister Valerie.
Anyway. He says folks like 500 times in this. He does the Obama trick calling everyone folks. It makes him sound like he's like down with the peasants.
What? He doesn't know what to say. Look at. He can't even read the teleprompter. Oh my god.
I'm not getting video.
What?
Yeah, I'm getting a still.
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
Not anymore. Now I've just got us.
Do you have it now?
No, just
Not yet.
just us.
Okay, here.
There it is.
There you go. Now, if you look
You placed in
too, there's all the Jeeps in there again.
Yeah.
Like the last one he did, there's just like a bunch of brand new like 2020, 21 Jeeps. Car commercial? I don't know.
only sees the United States.
Well, here's the other thing about this: when they see how the people they show, they actually don't care about COVID right now. There's no social distancing. No one says shit. It's fucking hypocrisy.
Is what America, I believe, is about. It's about people. And that's what our administration will be all about. I sought this office to restore the soul of America.
Oh,
To
did you?
rebuild the
Did
backbone
Trump
of this
concede?
nation.
No, he's not going to.
Yeah, you
To make
can't.
America respected
Goes
around
against
the
Sun
world
Tzu.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
And to unite
He just played golf.
It's the honor of my lifetime.
Huh.
So many millions
This is the thing. People are stupid too. This was what kind of pissed me off on Twitter and whatnot. They're like, he won. It's like, it's projected. That doesn't mean shit. Do you remember 2000? No, I'm sorry, because most of you are probably like 11. It's, okay.
Yeah.
That was the first time I voted and the last time I voted.
and I would not be here
Beep,
Yeah, nobody cares.
beep, beep.
All right.
entirely support Jill.
He could only do 15 minutes though, guys.
There-
so maybe we could.
There is a photo of Biden with a black eye. I think it was
Yeah.
probably like 2 or 3 years ago.
A black guy or a black guy?
A black eye. You know how like they get their left eye punched, or
Yeah.
I heard that it was like Japanese mafia sort of stuff. They like
You know what? I have a theory about that. It's not like the algo stuff, which is really interesting that Chris is doing right now. But
Yeah.
like, I think why they get the black eyes because it's a penis worshipping cult or something. It has something to do with it. So they get this giant big golden dick and they just ram it into your eye.
that's
Right.
a lot of skull fuckery abounds.
Yeah, it goes back to the first guy got like skull fucked.
God, call him.
It was like a Osiris fucking skull fucked someone.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at how diverse his woman.
Look at Chase Center. Chase Center. Banks, big old banks. Just gonna bring in that UBI now.
They
And
carefully stopped calling her black now too. By the way,
yeah.
she's.
Well, he calls her black.
Oh, I
Calls her
know.
black. He's
When
like,
when it's convenient.
yeah, he says, but then she's like, well, you know, Asian descent.
When it's not convenient, you're a racist.
She's Jamaican. That's not black. It's Jamaican.
Jamaican and Indian.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Brahma class too, which they don't want to talk about the Brahma.
She's caste system.
So Snake Jones says that that Biden did a small arms treaty with the UN in 2009, where he agreed to disarm all small American civilian small arms to the UN.
Yep.
You know, that's
Yeah.
I would be totally enraged about that, but like the guy like does whatever he thinks, he dances whoever brung him with whoever brung him, you know. So he'll say whatever he thinks the person wants to hear.
He's a
Yeah,
teen
but I think this time he does want to go for like assault weapons.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well,
This
yeah, like-
round, they're not. It's gonna have to take something bigger than COVID, bigger than anything else for that to happen, and it's like Canada is gonna see. It's gonna have to come with Canada.
Canada's already doing it right now, and they just did another assault ban. Right, whatever. They like first put a like composite of how many guns weren't okay to have, and now they're doing another one. This is going to be part of the Great Reset.
Yeah,
They're
it's-
gonna be like, you don't need.
Like a fake gun buyback program again.
It's gonna be a fake law thing where like they're gonna like communitarianism is not they're not gonna pass laws, but they're gonna make it a community that makes you want to give up your guns out of like pressure, like the same pressure that they put on us to wear masks, and you get frowned at if you don't, you know.
No, it's self-policing. Yeah, exactly. I get it. It makes sense. Communitarianism is that's precisely what it is, and that's what they're ushering in. It feels weird. For some reason I feel prompted to say it, and it's like I don't see how it could happen right now, so I don't know why I'm actually gonna address it, but I think it needs to be, and I shared it with you guys earlier. I feel like maybe I didn't. I don't remember if I actually clicked it or not or got distracted. But it was that this dude predicting stuff since 2000. He's been predicting things for so long, like 2 years in advance. He predicted what was going to happen on election night of this year.
And who was it?
Like, and it was marked on Twitter, and he's been featured on Drudge over 250 times. Ethnio something on Twitter, but he did. Like, multiple people retweeted it on election night. Like, holy shit, look at this dude.
Well,
And he's been like featured so many times for getting it right. But he's got like a super Christian timeline that's like too much. You know what I mean? Like, whoa, calm down, right? Like, way too hype of a Christian, way too hyped on being a Republican almost. You know what I mean? It's like, no, I can't listen to somebody like this, right? But he's gotten things right, and what he said was, expect the cities to riot in the next whatever, like the major cities where there was any questionable something where ballots need to be burned.
They're gonna be burned.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, what, to even say something like that right now is like, what the hell?
I was seeing that on Twitter, I think yesterday. I
What's
was like,
gonna
they're
spark that though?
they're gonna make them look like Trump supporters too. They're gonna have red hats and be like, "Fucking burn these
Right.
places."
That's what I'm saying. That isn't even real. We're
Yeah.
gonna, if I'm saying it right here, if this happens, it's fake because I'm saying it's gonna happen before it happens. And
No,
this
it's happening.
and it makes sense though because it's. And I'm also giving the guy credit for being right about all this other weird shit that you really. I mean, I guess it's like. This isn't a dice throwing game, right, guys? This isn't a real. It is, but it is. It's dice.
Have you heard about the baseball prediction? It was like every presidential election for until the very, was it the second Bush election? Every single presidential election up until then was predicted that it was like some certain baseball team, if they won or lost, then the incumbent it predicted who was.
Challenger, but what?
God, I forget what it was exactly, but it was like
San Francisco's won a bunch of times. The Giants, but LA won it this year.
it was like a certain team, whether in.
The last election, the Cubs won the World
It
Series.
was like the very last game they played, or I don't remember. It was like such an obscure thing, but it was like totally weird. I don't know if I was just seeing if you guys have heard of that.
I feel like I have, but I feel like I have, but I feel like it was San Francisco, and this year I know that the Dodgers won it for the first time in a long time since 1988, since Kirk Gibson hit that walk off when he had a bum leg, and they put him in the game and hit a pinch and home run. And, like, remember that? I'll never forget that because he did that weird ass arm pump thing while rounding first. It was like he was limping really hard. Do you remember that? It was legendary. That was when you had memorable moments in television because you would walk like everybody would be watching.
Oh, like the earthquake during the World Series.
I'll never forget that either. That was
Yeah.
the Bay Area. It was against
San Francisco,
it was
right?
Oakland.
Oakland?
Yeah, it was the Giants against the A's. Like, it was Jose
Yeah.
Canseco and Mark McGwire
Yeah.
versus fucking. I don't think Barry Bonds. I think he was still on the Pirates back then. But yeah, I think that was the series. And so yeah, it happened in the city, both cities, both East and West Bay. And that bridge collapse. Yeah, I'll never forget that. Cause that day, at school too, at recess, it was like the final recess of school. Kids. I don't know. You'll never know what that is probably anymore. I'm sorry. I remember running past the swing set, and we had a big swing set there, right? And I was just running like an idiot playing a game or something, and I got kicked in the chest so hard, I got the wind knocked out of me and blacked out and flew up, I guess, in the air a bunch of feet and landed like on my back and like woke. All I remember is getting kicked and like couldn't breathe, and I couldn't breathe, and I came to, and it was like my best friend in the world, Hutch, had kicked me and was swinging on a swing, like getting tons of speed, you know what I mean, like accelerating into my fucking chest, and I'll never forget. I couldn't breathe. I was like blacked out, and I wake up and like was like, who did that? Like Hutch. I was like, it was an accident. I'm not mad. Anyway, that was the same day as the World Series bridge.
Masons, baseball,
Yeah.
all in plain sight.
They burned the world down. Sucked the blood of every orphan.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, he's also said Biden, that is, he said he was going to name a science advisor on Monday.
Right here, dog. No.
But how much you gonna bet? $100. It's fucking Bill Gates. It's just like,
Dude,
what
if
the
that
fuck
happens, I will riot. I mean, I'll peacefully protest.
But doesn't it seem like they are just trying to poke at the side? It's like super.
There's no way Bill Gates comes into this fray.
Dude, Bill Gates tweeted for the first time today, and he has like in like months since, or whenever the.
Did you look at any of the replies?
Oh, he blocked all that. You can't reply or.
That
No.
shouldn't be right. That should be illegal. Dude, that is so not fair.
It was after that Brockovich, whatever, that fucking bitch.
Aaron Brock.
Maria Brockovich, whatever.
Ooh, Marina Abramovich.
Abramovich, yeah. After that whole debacle where she did the Microsoft commercial, they like turned off all that.
Of course they did, because he's like, flip the switch. You guys know which one.
Yeah. But dude, it's getting crazy.
He doesn't know code. I don't. So, what has Donald Trump said anything, you guys?
No, I think he's supposed to. Do.
He said stop the count earlier.
Yeah.
Can we go back to regular screen?
Oh.
Or are we gonna watch more videos?
Yeah.
But Biden's creeping me out.
Yeah, he just says a bunch of like, I mean, his speech is like, it's hacky,
Trash.
and it just hits on a bunch of stuff where it's like, I'm gonna make us come together, and he's like, and he.
Look, I don't care as sensitive as people are today. I honestly, I mean, I can't do anything about it. I know, I could vote. No, but seriously, I think, I don't think anything's really gonna change too much. It's just gonna be like, no.
I don't know, man. I think there's. I think after this, I don't know. There's gonna be.
I'm gonna pretend like it's not.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think it's cemented yet. I think it's gonna fluctuate with
Wait until December.
I think that's what's gonna cause the
December.
maybe January.
January, yes, because that's after. But December they decided
No.
that.
Yeah, we got problems here because get this. I believe Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are going to be rounding themselves up in Capricorn, and then Mars is right up in the picture. So that, you know what that means? That's a wrap. And Mercury's out of
War
retrograde.
and
Here's the other thing I'm annoyed by.
Direct attack.
Astro Twitter. Okay, I usually love you guys, Astro Twitter, but you guys are all fucking retarded. Because you're like, we called this. We called Biden winning.
Who cares? Everybody called Biden winning. Look at the betting odds.
I know, but I'm just saying they're fucking retarded because I'm sorry that Twitter bot doesn't like retard. But
Whatever, dude.
but they're retarded because like A, this isn't done, and B, obviously this is gonna. He's not gonna get in. That's just my prediction. That's my Astro prediction, and it's gonna cause more division, obviously. And there's gonna be more rioting.
Really, but wait, yeah, they've got to keep fanning that flame. I mean, because it's dying down, and I don't really see you guys. I don't think that they created that many white supremacists.
Dude, there's not that many white supremacists. Actually,
that's what I mean, dude.
did you listen to No Agenda? You listen to that show?
What is that?
It's a podcast. It's like quasi political, but I just started last year. I've been off and on it, but especially this year. But it's actually like one of the first podcasts that was ever made. But anyways, they were talking about this like scientific experiment. I didn't get to actually finish the part when they were getting into it, but it was interesting where they were saying that these two scientists saw that when society gets actually near zero to like racism and sexism and all these things that like are agitating, it gets actually stirred up and people start thinking everything's racist and sexist.
Right.
So it was like an interesting like comparison to like what's going on right now. It's like everyone's just like
Yeah.
flipped out and calling like, everyone a monster when it's like we've actually progressed. I mean, it's unbelievable how much we've progressed, you know, as
Right.
far as like open society is concerned.
Because
So I think they know that and they're stoking that fire.
yeah,
I don't know.
it makes sense. It makes the most sense. It does.
By they, I don't know who they is, but it's probably Henry Kissinger and his alien friends, right?
I mean, but he does his research, dude. I don't. Man,
I need to look into that because I was like just kind of wild. I was like,
I got hazed. My eyes got. I couldn't. I was like, what?
Henry Kissinger and I speak to aliens and
That, I mean, if that were to come out, or if I were to discover that in some random ass documents, I
Well,
would not be shocked.
naturally, you would think that Henry Kissinger is in charge of us. If you saw him, you'd be like, oh, everyone loves and respects Henry Kissinger. Naturally, he'll be
Right.
our go-to human.
Naturally, the one with IBS should rule over us.
Yeah.
It's just like 4 feet tall and oh my god, it's just how it always works.
It's okay. So you really don't think? I don't know if Biden. Okay, I'll just leave it at this. I don't know if Biden really won the election, but I don't. If you think about it, more people hated Donald Trump, though. Not many really voted for Joe Biden. Let's be realistic, guys.
No,
Everybody voted Trump out of office.
I don't think there was that many spite votes.
There
Let me
was-
just say that.
There was.
I don't think there was, but that's be left to be seen.
Spite votes, you mean for who would a spite vote be?
Against Trump, but there also could have been spite vote against Biden too. You know, people got so annoyed.
Does not out. No, look, the way the media trumped up the news cycle with Trump, figuratively, literally, and everything. They assisted in creating the monster, and they want to play the game. Okay, so then they can't see the reason there aren't. I believe now, and this is all kind of connecting together right now. I believe there's people like, why would they be telling their people? I believe their people are standing down. I don't mean their people, but like, why are the paid protesting, well, you know what I mean? Those types not out because they don't have a reason to be out right now. That's what the main thing was like. Well, why would they be? Why would they burning shit down? Well, I think essentially this whole thing boils down to, well, they're gonna ease into whatever. Like, they're gonna take it so you can get over it and relax, and then accept this, right? That, okay, so everybody's accepted it. Nobody's freaking out. No crazy white supremacists, quote unquote, freak out, right? Unabomber situations. Yeah.
It takes a few years for that to matriculate.
Oh, how long has Q been around? Exactly. So I think they figured that out a long time ago, and they got statistics.
They're just waiting for orders.
Yeah, exactly. They're waiting for their Manchurian candidate barking orders. They don't know they're waiting for it, but they're waiting for it. And when that goes down in Richard McCaslin-like fashion, they're gonna let it happen. Though they're gonna let it, because that would make the most sense now. It's like, okay, why not play that card?
Well, they haven't. That's the thing. Is this kind of retarded about this whole thing? Is there like
the media built it up though? Are they gonna be the ones to tear it back down again? Because by proxy, nobody would. Okay, let's, for example, pick Kamala Harris as running as president against Donald Trump. Who wins that in reality? Who wins that in 2016? Who wins that? Donald Trump, right? In 2020, who wins that? Donald Trump, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because nobody, according to the polls.
Well, here's another thing too that why it doesn't make sense that Donald Trump wouldn't win this time, because historically, people, and this is if voting's real, and I don't know if it is, because like actually, I think maybe this one might have been the only real one in the last 100 years, but historically, when there's shit going on, if it be war or economic issues, you don't change teams.
Nope.
Yeah. So for I don't know. So I mean, obviously they were showing us like, well, there's shenanigans, and then there's the other side of showing us like, no, obviously this is This is because it's the highest turning out rate ever in history for
Yeah.
a fucking retard who can't even shit his pants and can't remember his name half the time or who his wife is. You know,
Okay, I'll say they padded. Like, if anything, witnessed this time more, and I can't believe I'm saying this, more than 2016, because I remember how fed up I was in 2016, and other people were at how ridiculous of an act it was. Like for vote, like they didn't vote, right? And I didn't vote either, obviously. But
I didn't either.
this time, consciously, I've noticed more people saying they voted, and more people saying they weren't voting. Fuck that. No. You know what I mean? So it doesn't add up to me that the numbers are as high, because I don't think the FU I'm not voting people outnumber the FU I'm voting people. Period. They don't. Because people really, the media has gotten people to, like, naturally, I didn't like Donald Trump's character to begin with because his intellect is really, he's dull. But that doesn't mean, it doesn't mean he wasn't, like, reasonable at a lot of other things, doing things and letting government do government while he tried to do some other weird thing that he knows how to do in business. Right?
I think he's pretty sharp, actually. In contrast, I'd say that he doesn't use a teleprompter, and I mean, like, I don't agree with all the shit he says, but you gotta hand it to him for being able to off the cuff.
Hey, I do, and I find comedy in it all the time, right? And I don't mean laugh at comedy. I mean I'm laughing.
He's hilarious.
He's hilarious.
Hilarious.
Because it's been, and even if you do have a little bit of a stick up your ass and don't like him like I do.
He's a senior. He's
like, good one, dude. That's funny. That's a great troll.
He's the senior bully, in high school. Like
exactly.
I laugh watching him make fun of that kid, but I don't like it when he's making fun of me.
Right. You don't. Yeah. And that's essentially what's going down, where it's a big ass lunch table and a big ass cafeteria over there, and it's that table. But like we've touched on before, where he's not a blue blood. He's considered white trash to these people. Therefore, that's why I said it on Tuesday night, which I think was the first time I said it, where Ivanka's the golden child, dude. It makes the most sense. He had to marry Jared Kushner. It was like more of an arranged marriage, in my opinion, because that's how people of that ilk do.
I thought Trump was royal. He's related on his mother's side to the royal blood.
That is some no. I guarantee you, it's because
that's what I've heard. I think that he married his daughter to Kushner because he's indebted to
that's what I'm
the
saying.
finance guys.
That's why he hasn't been assassinated. That's the only reason this dude is not dead. Because I think all of us, even people that didn't like Donald Trump and don't like Donald Trump, don't want to see him assassinated. That's murder. Okay,
Yeah.
but there's a ton of people who do, and they're outward and open about it, which is fucking crazy.
Well, they say that the Trump Tower is just a scaled up. It was the same proportions as a Masonic altar.
It doesn't
Yeah.
even matter.
So, like, if you go as above, so below, in New York, the island of Manhattan, you could make that into a Masonic floorboard.
Table. Yeah, floorboard. Yeah.
He's standing at the altar, so like he must be at some sort of position of
I understand.
of Masonic, like they wouldn't,
Right.
or else he wouldn't
But
be building that,
right, but I'm
building
saying
there and
also-
living there.
Okay, so let's build on that then, and say also, okay, so you've got, because clearly, yeah, he's got something going, some power. I'm not saying he doesn't have natural, some weird
Chaos
force
magician.
Yeah, it's chaos. It really is. I've never seen it at better work, actually. It's fantastic chaos magic.
I haven't seen his finished work. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, so that's where you go. He's literally, Kushner's is the golden child to Israel. Okay, period. He's the golden child. So there you go. What do we have when we have this makeup? You have an untouchable ass president, and that's why they want him out so bad. Otherwise, they would just fucking handled business a long time ago.
yeah, no, he positioned himself in a. That was probably strategic on his part.
That's his fuck you card.
Yeah, but Trump's on the coin next to Saul in Israel money, and I don't know if Biden is that beloved.
He's not. That's why
You know,
he's
and
senile. And Kamala Harris somehow got the torch because she's a POC and a woman, and she's a WPOC dog.
that's why I'm kind of thinking that there's going to be an upset again
It is
in the next few months.
the only way I could see it. The only way I could see it.
After winter, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then he's gonna get sick and die of COVID probably.
Could be, or that's when the invasion happens that Darren was talking about.
But yeah, exactly, because it's the biggest chink in the armor you could possibly have.
You know, or sounded like they were doing military style.
Yeah, what the hell was that? I had to leave the room when he walked in and said some shit about I have military. What?
He's just saying that the country's got a lot of military presence, and I actually a lot in Reno here too. But we have like National Guard and some other military bases. The whole state is military.
Yeah. So what? I mean, big deal. What does that have to do with it?
Well, this is more activity than I've ever seen. Like normally you don't see C-130s coming in and out all day long every day.
Yeah.
Think that's an-
It's weird.
Well,
And then-
when you look at like liberal cities or blue cities in states, the drug laws are getting super loose, and then a lot of homeless people are being funneled into these cities like Seattle, Portland.
Yeah.
They're pushing these. I don't know if that's because they vote. It doesn't help if you move them to those cities, but like I think that it has something to do with it. People that are in the cities, they're going to force people to take tests. It just kind of groups people into an area.
And it groups you into a communitarian mindset.
Yeah.
It does. It really does. It naturally, like that nurture, so to speak, in that area with because, yeah, that just it feels like it breeds. It's a perfect breeding ground, perfect soil to reap. And look at it. I mean, you plant those seeds, and 15 years later, 20 years later, this is what we get, I guess. And it's just, and then to put right in Trump in power, right when it's like tinderbox-ish. And
Yeah.
it was, and if we're gonna talk, president, they do have, and to even be a president, I think, to even run for president, you have to think about legacy, and you've got to at least have factored that in. I would have to imagine, as a man or woman, you have to look at what's gonna be your whatever. There's nothing here with what's Joe Biden's, like, for real. Let's think about that for a second. Like, I mean, if
Hey, David, your volume, can you turn it up a little bit?
what about there?
That's better. We got someone in the chat saying,
Okay.
yeah, but I couldn't hear you that well either. But
Okay, but yeah, I think Biden. What did anybody elect him for? Like, who's excited about Joe Biden realistically?
well, I mean, the narrative is that
I hate him.
yeah, well, the narrative is that he's a puppet by China, right? And like he owes them. And I think one thing we can maybe ruminate on, if this is a real thing and it's not just a whole psyop, because
Yeah, it
That-
feels like it.
this is the thing about the conspiracy world. There's that angle. It's always like it's M. Night Shyamalan. There's a twist,
Right, exactly.
right? It's like everything's a twist. It's like okay,
why-
maybe.
You can't keep your head too far down one of these rabbit holes. You have to stay up, and it feels like a whack-a-mole game now. It's not even.
But so like one thing I can see the COVID aspect and being the way it was is because say China and other countries or criminal organizations yada yada were using us to clean money because it makes a lot of sense because the GDP of America doesn't make sense. We shouldn't be this rich for basically having nothing
Not
to
this
make.
rich, exactly.
Right. So how do you explain all of a sudden the money getting cut off? You shut everything down. You're like, fucking shut it down. We're sick. Because you can't just explain everyone losing money and jobs all at the same time, right? I mean,
You can't. It's
so what if there was a thing that happened and maybe it was China, maybe in a large, because China's they fuck with their currency and they're very shifty on not Chinese people. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about the government as far as the narrative is concerned. Again, narrative. They maybe we were cleaning a lot of their money, and I think a lot of it has to do with textiles and all this shipping, because even the job I had, and we had this conversation off camera, that there was this weird thing that I happened before I left, that like they were making a lot of money, and all of a sudden there was like, we're not making money, and then COVID happened. So
Pretty
but they're in line with the textile stuff.
good timing.
Yeah, and there was even a guy that was involved with our company who has another company in the U.S. who makes masks, and he retrofitted his whole company to make masks that week,
Huh.
which doesn't make sense to me because all the equipment and everything, that would have took months in preparation, but all of a sudden he was pumping them out.
Wasn't he making masks before though?
No.
What was he making before?
T-shirts. He was
T-shirts.
making, yeah. And like, and his story is very similar to the principal to the company I work. As they were just very, very shitty, very spooky. Let's just
Yeah,
say.
like
Very, they talk and sound just like Google. Let's just say that. Same language, same look. So one of my theories was that the money laundering machine got cut off, and that was a signal like, we're gonna fuck you, and that's why they had to put Biden in, because he's like, I need to get this money machine working again.
Yeah, that would make the most sense.
In an angle.
It does make sense because look, all these cities, are you blue now? Aren't you blue state?
I'm in a blue state. Yeah.
You are. Okay, so that makes sense because the reason the second stimulus hasn't shown up is because the Democrats are basically demanding a bunch of extra money. For
Can you turn up just a more touch, David?
Yep.
Thank you.
Is that better? I don't know,
Yeah, you sound good.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
but is it all right in the chat? Or no?
Kristen Hanna said a second ago that your volume was still a little bit lower compared to ours.
She's
Okay.
enjoying the conversation. Thank you.
Yes.
I hope that's better, Kristen.
Glad you
Yeah,
enjoy.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for hanging out.
Are you the only person in here?
I hope that's better.
Yeah,
It's
it's,
just out. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, sweet. But
That's
yeah, I think it is a it's there's got to be some kind of a changeover. But I mean, what are you suggesting, Greg? Where it's like the money, printing the money, has anything to like? Do you have an idea, or is this just?
well. One idea would be that, so that was a signal from in the theory that a good portion of it was China, because they're the one that can manipulate currency even as good as we can.
Right.
That they were like, fuck you, we turn off money. They're like, what?
Money
you-
machine knuckle brr.
Yeah.
You get Orange Man out. He fucking ruined everything.
we call a loan.
But did you know
We
that
pay big.
on election night, guys, the yuan crashed hard. The market literally.
And they had an IPO. It was going to be the world largest IPO open, and it fucking tanked too. And that was a few days before. So that was a weird.
Was that TikTok?
It wasn't TikTok, but
Just kidding.
it should have been. That's the other thing. TikTok's a weird thing too, because that's, that thing was stealing. I mean, China government, not people. They're fine. They're beautiful people, and their culture is wonderful.
Yeah.
They've been around for a long time. The Chinese people are actually even more superior to how they think, because they think generationally. They go, what can I do right now to fuck these people in like 500 years from now?
We all need to start thinking generationally.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're all about the now, not them. I mean, that's
No,
why
they're-
Yeah.
that's why they're putting people in like predatory loans, like in Africa and other stuff. They learn from us.
Yeah. Obesity kills people because of lack of future planning.
Exactly. I mean, the whole thing. Yeah, that's true. It's like they think.
I don't know. It's just a theory, but I think with the trade deals and then like just how the textile stuff and the ports, it's like Wire season 2, you can ship people drugs, money, fucking whatever, and if that shit gets cut off, then we're not doing business anymore, are we?
Right. And now that so we factor that in, plus the other crazy ass news is, I think it came out the same night or maybe a couple days sooner, but right around, was Putin having to fucking step down and he's going to be stepping down in January from the
Oh, really?
presidency because he's got Parkinson's. No
What?
joke. That's a real headline, and we haven't seen any of it, have we, guys? Nobody's even talked about it. I'm the only person who's brought it up to other people, and they said, yeah, they heard that.
The master puppet has Parkinson's. We haven't heard about this. That doesn't.
I saw it on Twitter, and it was another thing. The dude, the same guy that I mentioned earlier with the I don't know what his Twitter handle is, so I apologize everybody, and I apologize to the avatar himself. No, but he predicted that too. That was another thing on his timeline, and it was like 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe it was even 2015. It's like he will not. It was crazy, like calling it, saying his health will be the something when it's actually to get out of some kind of issue, trouble.
Maybe he's burning down his life here so that he can go plus ultra to the secret
It could be
future
he's just
society.
Yep.
He's done his thing.
That's what he's here to do. Yeah.
Exiting stage left,
Yeah.
as they say.
There you go.
Yeah.
My character is done here.
Yeah.
Written off season 33.
Bye first.
Season 33, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, series finale, not just it's season and series finale. It's not the season. It's the end.
It
Of
is season 33 series finale.
It is series finale right now. We're episode 1 right. Episode 1 was on Tuesday night, and it's a slow burn. So we were at like 1.1.5, 1.6 today, and then I feel like I think it's precisely when Mars enters Capricorn, then we go to stage 2, probably episode 2.
Did you guys ever watch the show Fringe?
Yeah.
It's like
No.
it's like season 5 of Fringe, where it's like the first 4 seasons is like regular modern times and like kind of like, you know, sci-fi sort of like X-Files sort of things happen, and then season 5 is like zoop. It's like 50 years in the future, and it's like all dystopian, and there's weird time traveling robot dudes.
It's also a thing that writers have to do when they're trying to wrap it.
Yeah,
up, and they
they're
just
like,
kind
oh
of
hurry!
time skip.
I got 5 more minutes to finish this story. Oh crap!
We might not even be able to get this one in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little hacky, but you know, it's fine.
It's what they're doing now.
Fuck, dude, that second season was not as good as the first.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other.
Oh, Strange Angel, yeah.
So brilliant. It was better than any Showtime.
Yeah, it was really good.
Showtime. And it's go ahead.
It seemed. Didn't you notice like what happened to the second season? And this is just a side
Yeah,
note. They got so they know so it was good, and people are like, oh, I want to get on that, and so they got all these producers and other notes and shit, and they're like, can you make it more
L.
woke?
Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, make it more woke. You know, soften it up a little bit. Make it like
Yeah, they couldn't do that.
more
It was just-
accessible.
There was just like there just felt like there was that politics thing going on in it. I was
Too
like,
much real. Too much real. Like it was too real.
Yeah,
Because it was a historical.
too many
We
cooks.
have, but we can't allow people. We can't let. Yeah, because this is gonna be a hit. But we've got to kill. That was
Yeah, plus it's
weird,
PR
dude.
for the church. You know.
well, yeah, but also when Elrond just got thrown, they're like, nah, I'm not doing this because
Yeah, and how dare you stick your. That's like going in above your waist and getting out as quick as you possibly can in the pool. Period. That's like, all right, I'm going.
Yeah,
I'm
once
so
once you
cold.
go up to here, you're already you're invested.
You might go, and you literally, that's what they did to us with that show. And you guys.
Is
know
it
exactly what
over?
I'm
Is
saying.
it done?
Yeah, they canceled it.
Oh.
And they said due to lack of because y'all put it on CBS All Access on purpose
Yeah.
to think you thought it wasn't gonna be.
that thing was in limbo for years. Like
And it was so good.
It's
that
super
was,
political.
that
Yeah.
was also fuck, what's his name? Who does the Raised by Wolves?
Ridley Scott. Yeah.
That was his project because
Yes, it was his.
Yeah,
baby
he's in
too.
that club too.
he's in this. That's not, he always gets around. He's
not
like,
in-
oh, I don't know what magic is. Fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's some
He's not
Orphic
skilled.
symbolism, but I don't know about magic.
No,
Oh.
never.
Alright, guys.
Ridley Scott.
Wrap it up.
Here I go. Scott's free.
I
I
should look that up.
Yes. Yeah, what happened to his brother? A little interesting.
Who? Sean Connery?
No. Ridley Scott's brother, like, supposedly killed himself. But I think it looked like a Masonic murder. But they have that gangland murder shit they do.
Yeah. What was this, like some Santa Muerte worship?
Ridley Scott?
No, I don't know. What do you mean?
Oh, like
Aldous' brother.
his brother is also another director, but I think
Is he?
I think it was a hanging.
All right.
I thought, are you online?
Oh yeah, I'm online right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm sorry, I
Sorry.
thought you were done.
Sorry guys, hold up.
No.
I thought you were off. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm not muted.
But yeah, Ridley's got his brother died and found some skull.
Oh, he did.
That's what I thought.
Are you just making it up? This is
I
start.
found the skull. No, it was me. I just wrote.
Oh. Oh man.
Um.
Tony Scott jumped. Isn't that your boy up in the chat?
Oh, T. Scott.
Yeah, he jumped.
He jumped.
Oh, I thought he hung himself. See, I should have came more prepared with my conspiracy.
Your
but-
notes are bunk, dude. Get rid of them. Throw 'em.
Dude, I shoot from the hip all the time. I am a fucking mess.
Thank you.
But that's why people love me.
I don't get down. No other way.
But yeah, did he jump? Did he have like bricks in his pocket? That's what I'm guessing. He had
He had a
bricks.
stammer. I know that much.
Tony Scott had bricks in his pocket, and that was the Masons going, ha! Now you know. We murdered you.
Knowing's half the battle.
Yeah. And really, Scott's like, oh, this is a signal. I better make Raised by Wolves.
I gotta watch. Now I gotta watch that again. Seriously. I mean, I
I
haven't.
haven't seen it yet, but I want to see that in Lovecraft Country, even though I'm a little apprehensive with that one.
It's okay. The first episode's really good. But I don't know. I stopped after like the second episode, and I remember going, I'm gonna watch this, and I got it all, and then I've been busy with other things. I haven't been watching anything. I watched, like I said, the Borat film, and what show is that? Ted Lasso, on it's on Apple TV, and it's actually really, really good. I think it's funny. It's Jason Sudeikis. I think Jason Sudeikis is pretty great. I don't know about everybody else, but I think he's funny. I've always liked
Yeah,
him.
he's very.
It's a good show. But yeah, Raised by Wolves. What year? I feel like what year did that come out?
Just
It came out this year.
yeah, like a couple months ago.
It did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jim, you're muted. I got you.
Oh.
You have a
Wait, can you hear?
I can't. All I can do is ask him to unmute.
Should he do
What?
hand signaling?
Yeah.
what'd you
Want
guys
to
say?
do some? I think we're doing silent film era stuff.
Okay.
Oh hey, what's up guys? Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Oh yes.
I'm here.
Hey Jim. Hey, Dan.
Oh man. So
Yeah, sorry. I made a tangent, and you were gonna try to read tarot. I know you're probably like trying to leave.
no, I did the tangent, and I'm not gonna do the tarot tonight because I don't feel it unless somebody else feels it.
There,
So
Huh?
the energy's not there.
No.
I've got an idea that I'm gonna wet your guys' whistle with it, but I'm still doing more research. And once I started looking into it, I was like, holy shit, there's something here. So I've been writing stuff down and taking notes. But you know how there are false flag. Mostly people talk about false flag like they're like mass murders or like
Acting.
acting murders, stuff like that. I think that like there's a whole bunch of murders that are false flags that don't follow that. They're just high profile murders, and the reason is for I mean there's a lot of reasons, but I think the main reason is MK Ultra programming of us people. Like Chris Watts, he's a guy that killed his wife and his kids, and she was pregnant, and I started watching some stuff about that, looking into it, and it just seemed like the police interrogation seemed like so perfect. I mean, the cops are so scary. I think that the reason why they might want to do that is it's the same reason why I think they have so many Law and Order shows where like the criminal does something and then they've got like scientists that find out that they did it and they always go to jail. Like it's to discourage people from doing stuff. Number one, and number two, it's like trauma-based mind control. Because I mean, I should go back and look because I don't remember the exact statistic, but like by the time the average American is like 16 years old, they've seen like 40,000 murders.
Yeah.
probably.
You know, on TV or on the video games that they play, and I think that there's a lot of murders that fall into into the same sort of category. Yeah.
It's like the rating system. Yep, it's just like, remember when R-rated? It's like you go through those levels of they couldn't show you this, but they could show you this, but then they couldn't show you this, and they could show you.
Yeah.
And then it was literally like Reservoir Dogs pushed that to the next level, and then it got leveled up again. It is in Kristen.
Like anytime
it is a continuation for sure.
Yeah.
Of MK Ultra. It's the next.
Yeah. Anytime there's a big murder where people are talking about it all over the place, like just the amount of people talking about this Chris Watts
the energy
thing.
generated. It's like staring
And
crash.
and there was another guy that killed his family within the same period, and it didn't blow up like that. I mean, like why do they choose one story and not another story to follow? You know, it's just. And then when I started looking into it, it'd be like the perfect setup. Like, you know, like the wife gets killed, but she's on. She's selling like a product on Facebook, so she, over a few year period, she builds up all these people that watch her, you know, and then the thing happens and everybody's like following it. It's like almost too perfect. Then the woman who catches the police officer that trips him up on the lie detector test, she's wearing a black and white like striped like, you know, the Masonic black and white, you know, or I guess the duality, you know, it's like almost a prison cut pattern. Made me think about it. I was like, wait a second, this is so perfect. Like, that cop is so good. Like, how does she say all the perfect things?
And it's not even like it's not like it's a conscious thing. It's just it's the foundation for laying that is just so strong that it just naturally kind of it becomes like we were saying, it's self-policing. It's almost like self-fulfilling prophecy that nobody's even aware that they're participating in.
Yeah,
that's what it feels.
What if the kids never existed and they were just CGI and these people had different faces but they deep faked them so that you'd never recognize them in reality, and the whole thing was made up? Like, you'd never know. I mean, because people have a digital life and then they have a real life, and if you faked a digital life well enough, that person exists, and then they're murdered and dead.
Super weird.
You know,
Terry, it just reminded me. This is how. Okay, we had a mass shooting. I forgot at Miller at the brewery. Remember, guys? Do you guys even remember that? We had a mass shooting at the Miller freaking head brewery.
I think so.
And
Yeah.
Last, I don't even remember when it was, but that's how crazy is that? That was like a huge freaking deal. And I forgot it happened. Terry brought it up in the chat. It's true. It's like barely touched. Didn't fit national agenda.
So one of those things that, like you saying that, like made me think. You know, we're talking about like F flags. I don't want you get flagged. You know, the fakey incidents.
Yeah.
When those things. What if like when you're like saying like deep fakes and all that stuff? What if these people are just like off the books? Like they're not. Like, think how many people get like kidnapped or just missing or get born maybe without like papers and shit. Like, for instance, have you seen this show Utopia? Not the old one, but the new one that was on Amazon Prime.
What was it?
It's called Utopia.
No, the last show.
Check it out. It's a good. It's good, but it's like at the same time it feels like predictive programming and.
Is that the show where the people go like it's fast forward in time or whatever though?
No. So the premise is basically it's about the funny thing about it is they have a disclaimer saying nothing in the show has to do with current events, but like right after they say that, like it's like all the imagery is just current events.
Right. Anytime you have to disclaim that hard.
Right, and it, like they were actually trying to not put the show out this year because of how people, they were saying, oh, people think it's a conspiracy and all stuff, but so basically what it is about is it's a group of people who are into this comic book called Utopia, and there's like obsessed with it, and they go to this like Comic-Con, and they find out that there's a second part of that comic book that was never released, and it's like mysterious, and like some of the people in the group see like events that happened in the comic book, and it has to do with like viral infections and shit. So there's this character who's basically Bill Gates, who's played by John Cusack, and and I'm not trying to spoil it, but basically he's trying to use this virus to like fucking
Don't
you know,
don't ruin it 'cause I'm gonna watch
yeah, I don't
one.
want to ruin it, but there's people, they kind of have this aspect where it's like false flagging, and there's these people that are like they basically have a whole nother society. They're not even in society, so that's what they use to make false flags. Sorry, false
No, that
timing
makes
things. But yeah,
Ole Damagard.
yeah, that's what made me think when I watched it. I'm like, holy shit, that's the whole thing I didn't even think about. I was like, maybe they don't even have, like, when they do these things, these are people that are off the books. We don't, and of course it'd be much easier to get away with it because no one's talking, because they're almost like weird Amish people.
Non-people. Yeah, they're not.
Yeah, and they're kind of like a cult in the show, so they they believe in the what's happening in this grand conspiracy. It's very fascinating. You should check it out. Highly recommend it. I hope I didn't spoil too much. It's pretty much like an open plot right there. Like,
Watch it tonight.
yeah.
In fact, we're gonna sign off because it's
Okay.
getting that time. But
I appreciate it, fellas.
dude, thank you for hanging out. And
Always.
next week we got Jeremy Rothkuschel. I hope I'm saying it right. I feel like a jerk, Jeremy. But it's gonna be fun.
Jared Kushner you have on the show?
I love Jared Kirshner.
But yeah, it's gonna be a fun show. He's the golden one, and Jeremy and I we'll all, dude. Next week's gonna be insane. Trust me. I'm
Oh.
serious. Jeremy's awesome,
Cool.
and yeah, we're gonna have fun as usual.
Should
Thanks
say,
everybody for joining us in the chat too.
Oh yeah, thanks. And also give your thumbs up to Weaving Spiders Welcome
Yep.
and
Jim,
James Maiden.
here you go.
Or don't.
Yeah.
Hit us up.
Yeah, and you can also subscribe to my channel. I only have one video right now, but I'm working on that. I had some issues.
Oh nice.
Build it up.
What's your what's your channel called?
Oh, it's at Boseephus. I'll give you the link if that helps.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the thing, the doodly doo.
the doodly dads.
The
Thank you for
doodly doo.
that.
And then I'll send the book around. I'll send the book to you on Monday, Jim. And then when you're done with it, it's your job to send it to Greg.
I will. Over here.
And dick about it. Wait, you're gonna take a long time. No, you won't. Yeah, you will. Well, that's 2 sittings. Literally, that's how. I mean,
I'll make it a priority and whip through it.
It was really good. It's really good. So, I think you'll dig it.
The interesting stuff, I can't stop reading, you know?
Yeah, and the fact that nobody knows the name of Richard McCaslin, but I hope that, it starts to circulate and kind of, it's so crazy. Richard McCaslin.
Richard McCaslin Awareness.
Week. Month.
Decade.
Decade. Yeah. But yeah, thanks again, guys. And we will thank you. And
As professionals,
Yeah.
we'd like to say thank you.
Yep. So
Professional suck.
as fuck. Yep.
That's fine.
Yep. Confirm.
Confirmed. We're all Illuminati confirmed.
Yeah.
We're the biggest conspiracy. That's what people need to realize. We are, not them. They're a fucking bunch of pussies. Okay?
Yep.
So sack up.
Pussies.
Let's get together.
A number 1 right here. Plus.
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 Yep. And ultra. All right. Peace. Jim, it's on you, Jim.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Okay, bye.